the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 526. On the way back. That night, everyone came out of the secret realm, and Long Yun booked a large private room in a 5-star hotel in the imperial capital. Everyone enjoyed another sumptuous dinner. It's good to stay a few more days. There are still many places in the imperial capital that we haven't visited, Long Yun said, and he was still persuading several people to stay a few more days. Hahaha, next time, if there is a chance. Thank you for your hospitality these days. If you have time, you can also come to the Magic City and let us entertain you. Zhang Xingyun smiled and raised a glass of wine and clinked it with Long Yun. This trip to the imperial capital was still very worthwhile. In addition to the elves, I also made friends with Long Yun, who was like-minded. Okay, I will go if I have a chance. Long Yun replied with a smile on his face. It's settled. Yeah. Several people clinked a few glasses again, and the atmosphere was very warm. The next morning, everyone arrived at the airport of the imperial capital. Long Yun was waving in the distance. Zhang Xingyun and others also waved in response, and then walked into the plane. Are you okay? Why are you rubbing your brows? Nangang Yeo beside Zhang Xingyun asked with concern. No, what's wrong with you? Did you drink too much last night? Didn't you use your supernatural power to clean up the alcohol? No, with my physique, the alcohol has no effect on me. Don't worry. Zhang Xingyun said softly, sitting up straight. Then you. No, it's just this morning. My eyelids are twitching. Don't worry, maybe it's to pick up money. Zhang Xingyun said jokingly. Then could this be left eye twitching for wealth and right eye twitching for disaster? Meng, who was lying behind the two of them, said, what are you talking about? What's the matter with jumping for wealth and disaster? Meng, don't talk nonsense. Long Zirao beside him pulled Meng back. Zhang Xingyun smiled and leaned back in his chair. Buzz buzz buzz, the sound of the plane's engine moved, and the whole plane vibrated. After a while, the plane slid on the track on the ground, soared into the sky, and flew towards the direction of the Magic City. Looking at the clear sky and warm breeze outside, he leaned against Nangang Yeo, closed his eyes and rested. Boom. I don't know how long they flew. There was a roar of thunder and lightning outside, and the plane began to shake. Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and looked outside. At this time, the scenery outside was no longer clear, but dark clouds, heavy rain, lightning and thunder. What's wrong? These movements also woke up Nangang Yeo, and looked at Zhang Xingyun. It's okay, it's raining outside, Zhang Xingyun said, looking out the window, and for some reason he had a bad premonition in his heart. Ding dong, dear gentlemen and ladies, good afternoon. Now the plane is in the heavy rain. The movement is a little loud. It is normal, please don't worry. And in addition, a pleasant female voice came from the radio, soothing the passengers in the cabin. Hearing this, the passengers in the plane also relaxed. Boom. There was a constant rumbling outside, but the people inside were not as nervous as before. Some business people inside even picked up newspapers to read. Boom. Suddenly, there was an explosion outside. The plane shook, and the electronic equipment on the plane was rocking, making a sizzling sound, and some exploded. What's going on? Isn't it a rainstorm? Why is it like this? The unusual scene made the people in the plane panic and agitated immediately. The radio was broken, and the scene was in chaos. Oh no, this is a space fluctuation. The secret realm has descended. In the first time, Zhang Xingyun felt a strong space fluctuation surrounding the entire plane. With his mental power, he could see that the left wing and tail of the plane were emitting black smoke, and it had lost its balance. What should I do? The people next to him also panicked and asked him. It shouldn't be like this. The secret realm should be detected by the heavenly secret, and this is also a route. Zhang Xingyun said in surprise, but the situation was very urgent at the moment, and he didn't have time to think too much. Calm down, it's okay. Zhang Xingyun comforted. We will be fine, but they will. At this moment, Nangang Yeo was also very calm, looking at the chaotic crowd in the plane. Those who can work as flight attendants should be prepared. Let's go and help. Zhang Xingyun replied. Where is the Pokémon? Where is my Pokémon? Stewardess, where is the parachute? Where is the parachute? Gentlemen, ladies, don't worry. Please trust our security personnel. Everything will be fine. Several young stewards opened the gate and walked in, comforting everyone. Boom, there was another boom outside, accompanied by a violent vibration. Several people who left their seats fell and got bruised and swollen. No, you're not. Hurry up and get me a parachute. The one sitting here is a trainer. I'm willing to pay a large sum of money to ask to take me out. The price is negotiable. The plane was extremely chaotic, with noisy and shoving. Xingyun. Nangang Yeo pulled Zhang Xingyun's hand and asked what he meant. Behind him, Page Engine and the others also looked over and looked at him. Among the crowd, he was the strongest and had rich experience. They couldn't help but regard Zhang Xingyun as the backbone. Help to rescue. If it doesn't work, then let's talk about it later. Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and said in a deep voice, in this situation, he must take action. He can only say that he will do his best. He doesn't know whether he can save them in the end and how many people he can save. There are almost 200 people on the plane now. Okay, I'll listen to you. Nangang Yeo smiled. Let's do it, everyone. Zhang Xingyun's eyes lit up, and he helped the two stewardesses who were pushed to the ground and temporarily controlled several anxious passengers. Everyone, stop arguing. If you continue like this, death is a matter of time. Ability? One of the middle-aged men with a big back hair and a briefcase lit up. Brother, can you save me? The price is negotiable. Zhang Xingyun glanced at him, turned his eyes away, and ignored him. Brother, I have old people and young children to take care of. I'm the only labor force in our family. You must take me with you later. You don't have to worry about the others. Save me. Just ask how much money you need. Brother, take me with you too. The originally agitated people looked at Zhang Xingyun with shining eyes, as if they saw a savior. Okay, calm down and listen to the arrangements of the crew. I believe they have a solution. It will be fine. The plane has stabilized now. It's okay. Hey, brother, don't leave. Zhang Xingyun ignored them and said a few words to Nangang Yeo and the others through telepathy. He disappeared from the spot and came outside. At this time, there was a violent storm outside, and thunder was heard everywhere. On the smoking tail and left wing, there were several figures busy there. Chapter 527 Air Crash. When Zhang Xingyun appeared beside them, they were all stunned. Come out, Tyranitar, Pidgeot, and Charizard. Zhang Xingyun didn't say anything. He released Tyranitar and the other three at the first time, and immediately started Super Evolution. Then he attached a Spirit Attaching technique and burst out with all his strength to help. Zhang Xingyun used all his strength to control the plane and slightly maintained his balance. Thank you, Master Chen. Please go in quickly and see if you can repair it. A man with a calm face said, and a flying elf escorted several people into the smoking place. How is it? Nangang Yeo flashed and came to Zhang Xingyun's side and asked. I don't know yet. The group of masters are repairing it. Zhang Xingyun replied. Then I'll go to the tail to help. After that, Nangang Yeo teleported and rushed to the tail to help. Bang, there was another explosion at the place where the black smoke was coming out of the left wing, and then several people retreated from it. Some of them had lost consciousness and were bleeding profusely. No, this is completely broken and can't be repaired. The man called Master Chen said. His face was dark and there were several wounds that were still bleeding. Boom, there was an explosion from the tail. It's over. There must be a problem with the tail. We have to land quickly, otherwise we can only abandon the plane and escape. Land? How to land? We don't know where this is. What's going on below? Sir, the situation is urgent now. Please help me. Captain Lee rode on a flying elf and came to Zhang Xingyun. As a king level trainer, he naturally saw that Zhang Xingyun was extraordinary. I will, don't worry. Cry. As soon as the voice fell, a cry came from a distance. A group of elves in the distance flew towards here aggressively. Their eyes were red, and they should be affected by the arrival of the secret realm, and they looked crazy. There's no way. We have to evacuate urgently now. Captain Lee looked at the elves flying in the distance and made a decision. "Sir, can you hold us back for a while? I need time to prepare," Captain Lee requested. From the breath of Charizard and the others, he could tell that the young man in front of him was actually a king level trainer. Okay. Zhang Xingyun nodded and called on Tyranitar and the others to meet them. A group of Pokémon flew over from another direction, and Captain Lee could only arrange a group of people to meet them. Once the group of people left, the plane began to shake without the assistance of these flying Pokémon. There's no other way. Captain Lee came into the plane and asked the people inside for help, and then talked to everyone about retreating. Our Mega Tyranitar swooped down and rushed into the flock of birds. This group of attacking Pokémon were mainly toucans. When Tyranitar rushed over, a lot of feathers were scattered in the sky, and toucans fell down one by one. He banged Tyranitar's momentum was interrupted, and it fell back. 2 king level Tyranitar flew out from the toucans, looking at Tyranitar with sharp eyes. King level? This is going to be difficult. Zhang Xingyun frowned when he saw 3 toucans appearing. This situation was not good. It also meant that the place where they landed was a resource-rich secret realm. Resource-rich secret realms represent a lot of resources and treasures. They have always been the favorite of trainers who go out for adventures because they can get a lot of gains here. But this is a disaster for the more than 200 people on the plane. In the resource-rich secret realm, there are many powerful Pokémon, and there are also many dangers. The toucans flapped their wings, and then Wind Blade slashed over, which was an air blade move. After the attack, more than a dozen toucans rushed over under the leadership of a leader. Claws, you come out too. Zhang Xingyun released the claws and let it join the battle. As for undertaking and the others, they couldn't be counted on. Bang, 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 the battle broke out, and Tyranitar and the others fought with the toucans in front of them. Xingyun, we are here. Hearing the voice, Zhang Xingyun looked back and saw Peichen leading a few people to support and join the battle. Why are you here? What's the situation over there? Seeing that you are facing so many Pokémons, I'm afraid you can't handle it, so I came to support you. Captain Lee is arranging an emergency retreat over there. The plane can't be repaired, so we can only abandon everything and ride the Pokémon to land on the ground. Okay, I know. Zhang Xingyun replied, performing teleportation on the side to assist Tyranitar and the others. Hey, Turquoise King level toucans broke through the siege and rushed towards the crowd. Desert Dragonfly. No need. Zhang Xingyun stopped him, teleporting above the 2 toucans. As their figures crossed, the 2 toucans screamed and fell to the ground. Zhang Xingyun also returned to his original position. So strong. You are stronger than some elves. Peichen was shocked. From the time he attacked to the time the 2 toucans lost their fighting power, the process took less than 10 seconds. Don't be shocked. They are just 2 elves who have just entered the early stage of qua seeking. Zhang Xingyun said indifferently. It was not difficult for him to deal with these 2 toucans. Be careful, I'll help. Zhang Xingyun flashed and rushed into the flock of birds. A huge fist-like energy body appeared and rushed into the toucans. Seeing Zhang Xingyun so brave, Peichen also teleported and rushed in. Among the 3 toucans in this group, the strongest one was entangled by the giant mantis, another one was restrained by the super Charizard, and the remaining one was stopped by the Tyrannosaurus and Pidgeot. On the other side, the plane that they were on was falling down. A group of flying elves were hovering in the sky. Their backs were full of people, the passengers of the previous plane. This group of flying elves was also prepared to deal with their crash elves like the current situation. These elves were generally not very strong, so their combat effectiveness was naturally not that high. Follow me quickly, let's get to the ground quickly to be safer. Several young people in uniforms shouted with a loudspeaker in the heavy rain. A team of people escorted the crowd and made an emergency landing on the ground. Captain, we don't have enough manpower. There is another group of elves flying over there. What should we do? Damn it, you guys are here. You guys follow me. Captain, look, there are elves below too. A young flight attendant pointed at the group of elves with red eyes on the ground below in horror. Chapter 528, Fierce Fighting and Evacuation. The elves below looked at the group of people above their heads, releasing their skills and attacking upwards. At this time, Zhang Xingyun also dealt with the toucans and rushed over. Seeing Nangang Yeo on the back of Dragonite, taking care of the crowd, He felt relieved and immediately flew to the ground with the elves. Bang! Zhang Xingyun and several elves landed, leaving a big pit on the ground. In the pit lay several unconscious elves, all of whom lost consciousness after being hit hard the moment they landed. Roar! The elves around him roared a few times and used their moves at him. For a while, a variety of moves hit the position where Zhang Xingyun stood. Flame, ice, poisonous mud, flowers, and plants. Nido the tall and mighty Nidoking appeared from the other side, holding a large armor in his hand. Whoosh! He threw it fiercely into the group of elves, and then his hands touched the ground. The ground cracked, and small cracks appeared, and the cracks flashed with a faint yellow light. Bang! Several elves standing in the way were blown up into the sky. Nidoking flashed and appeared in the group of elves, looking at them with a ferocious expression. Nido boom boom boom. In another place, the giant claw mantis and others exerted their strength and killed an elf in a moment. The strongest here was a Quasi-King Peak Fang Cage. Under the hands of the giant claw mantis, it could not survive a few moves and lost consciousness. On the ground, Nidoking and the electric shock monsters could also appear. Soon, a large empty area was cleared. Etched and others rushed to join in and commanded the elves to fight fiercely. Cool! A loud roar sounded in the forest, and large trees collapsed one by one. A 3-meter tall circle bear walked out from inside, looking at Zhang Xingyun and others with red eyes, and disgusting white saliva flowing from his mouth. A mid-stage Heavenly King's circle bear. Nidoking, come with me, and Dragonite, you can fight freely. Zhang Xingyun gave an order and took Nidoking to meet the circle bear directly. Nidoking suddenly appeared in front of the circle bear, his fist flashing with lightning, and punched the circle bear's forehead. But the circle bear's reaction was not slow, and it met Nidoking's lightning fist with an arm punch. But it was not enough to block Nidoking's lightning fist, but it also changed the hit point and landed on its thick right shoulder. Cool! After this attack, the furious circle bear would naturally not fight back. It pounced, opened its mouth and bit Nidoking hard, but was blocked by Nidoking's fist. The thorns on Nidoking's arm lit up, forming a purple light, and slashed over with a momentum that soared into the sky, leaving a long scar on the circle bear's face, and blood was dripping. Turning his body, he kicked the circle bear twice in a row, kicking it away. With a flash of his figure, he came to the top of its head and pressed down like a mountain. The soil on the ground began to wriggle slightly. Under the control of Nidoking, he locked one of the hands of the circle bear. Nidoking then used his hands and feet and attacked the circle bear with his left and right hands. Cool! The circle bear was not to be outdone and struggled violently. The soil layer that locked it directly collapsed and stretched out its bare claws from the soil. The claws were shining with a faint light and grabbed Nidoking's back. Nidoking cried out in pain, and with a bang, after the circle bear made a big fuss, Nidoking was still repelled, and the circle bear also stood up from the pit. The two had another fierce battle. Wherever they passed, the ground collapsed, and the trees fell, and the scene was quite spectacular. Nidoking has made great progress. Zhang Xingyun, who was standing by, said with great satisfaction. Nidoking, at the peak of the early stage of the Heavenly King, fought against the mid-stage circle bear without losing the upper hand. This performance was worthy of his training. In addition to his place, there were also movements in several other places, and they were still fighting fiercely. Xingyun, just beat them back. Let's go quickly. There is another group of elves coming from a distance. Etched rushed over and told him the news. Okay, I got it. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said, leading Nidoking to attract the circle bear, and circled around inside for a few times before returning to the team. Don't fly too high. Too many people will be easily discovered. Let ordinary people go first, and we will take over. If it is impossible, we can leave. Just do our best. Captain Lee shouted loudly, riding a Heavenly King level tropical dragon to meet the attacking elves first, delaying the crowd. Chenjin, you guys hurry up, I'll delay for a while. Zhang Xingyun urged, letting Etched and others go first. Okay, be careful. Etched and his companions were not shy either, so they immediately followed the crowd to retreat. I'll go with you, my strength isn't much different from yours. Nangang Yeo smiled and appeared beside him. Okay, Zhang Xingyun nodded slightly and said nothing. I'm Li Guanghuan from China Airlines. I'm asking you to help the crowd evacuate. I'll definitely reward you handsomely later. Li Guangliang came to Zhang Xingyun and his companions and said sincerely. From their elves, it could be seen that the two young elves in front of him had the strength of a king. As long as they helped, the situation would be much better. We will help. Zhang Xingyun replied and moved forward with Nidoking and other elves to block the attacking elves. With the addition of Zhang Xingyun and his companions, the pressure on the few people left behind was greatly reduced, and they fought and retreated. On the other side, Pei Chenjin and his companions also encountered a large scared attack. Under the protection of the garrison, only a few people in the team were injured, and the others were safe. At this time, Zhang Xingyun and his companions rushed back from the rear and evacuated together. Captain, there is a barren mountain ahead, and no Pokémons were found. A young scout came to Li Guangliang and reported to him. Then let's go there first. Inform others not to fly too high, so as not to attract attacks from the Pokémons. Also, be prepared for battle at all times. Yes. Li Guangliang did not dare to relax and kept his eyes on the surroundings carefully. Zhang Xingyun and his companions were scattered in various corners of the crowd, protecting the safety of the crowd. They had learned this in school, so they naturally knew what to do in this situation. Before the heavenly secret came out, the advent of the secret realm always caught people off guard. But when the army and other social forces had not arrived, at a critical moment, college trainers could face it head on, so ordinary universities would set up such courses. Along the way, they did encounter a few lone Pokémons, but they were all dealt with. People also rushed to the barren mountain mentioned by the scouts, and after checking and finding that there were no Pokémons, they settled down. Chapter 529, Rest in the Barren Mountains. Everyone cooperated with the elves to open up a space in this barren mountain. Men and women were separated in the space and they were roasting by the fire. The staff on the plane took out some clothes for people to wear first. These were the reserve clothes of their airline, so they had to make do with them. The heavy rain outside had stopped, and the ground was muddy. A team of people were guarding in the dark to prevent the elves in the wild from attacking. What's going on? Why are you arguing? Zhang Xingyun walked in from outside and walked to Pei Chenjin and asked. Now there were several people around Li Guangliang, chattering and arguing loudly. That group of people want compensation, and they don't even think about when this happened. Pei Chenjin said helplessly. Captain Li, right? Such a big thing happened today. As the captain of this flight, you have to bear the main responsibility, and you have to compensate me for my losses. A round-headed big-eared pot-bellied man wearing a wet white shirt came to Li Guangliang and accused him. Yes, don't worry. This is our mistake. China Airlines will compensate you for your losses. Be patient. Facing the accusations of these people, Li Guangliang said in a gentle voice. And the briefcase I just lost, the value inside is not small. This is an important contract of our company. You asked me to throw it away just now, so you have to compensate. Another person jumped out and accused Li Guangliang and the people behind him. That man insisted on taking his briefcase with him to take up space when evacuating just now. In that situation, space was already precious, and he was so fat, and he had to take up space with a briefcase. This is ridiculous. Pei Chenjin saw what the man did and felt a little indignant. There were also valuables in my suitcase, and now it has fallen with the plane. You have to pay for it, too. Yeah, me too. My things were also on the plane. You told us to hurry up at that time. You have to take responsibility for this. The scene was very noisy, especially when a few fierce women came forward to argue, making it even more noisy. Okay. Li Guangliang shouted loudly, and the people who were originally noisy stopped, and the scene instantly became quiet. We, China Airlines, will compensate you for your losses. As for the things you mentioned, they are also filed in the company's system, and compensation will be made when the time comes. Don't worry. Now, we are not talking about this. Instead, we should consider how to survive and ensure our own safety before the government's rescue team arrives. As soon as the voice fell, the people who were arguing the most stopped their anger and returned to the crowd. Can't these people see the situation clearly? They are still making trouble now. Really? Zimeng was also a little annoyed and said angrily. Okay, are you alright? Is the elf injured? If so, release it and I'll treat it. Zhang Xingyun interrupted and asked several people. Yes, my desert dragonfly's injured, quite seriously, and a lot of scales have fallen off its body. Zimeng Meng released her desert dragonfly. You can also release yours. After saying that, Zhang Xingyun took out the medicine from the space and prepared it. Peichengin and others came to an open place on the side, released the injured elf, and let him treat it. Zhang Xingyun's hand was emitting emerald green light, attached to the injured elf, and Madame Huaji assisted on the side. After a while, longs around the others elves were all cured. That, a young man with mud on his hair came over. Judging from his clothes, he was the security guard of this plane. What's the matter? Seeing that the young man looked a little embarrassed, Zhang Xingyun asked. My elf is injured. Can you please help me treat it, or sell me some medicine? I can pay you. The young man said embarrassedly. His partner was seriously injured in the battle just now, and needed treatment urgently. No, you can release all the injured elves. Okay, thank you. The young man said excitedly, picked up the elf ball, and released 2 warrior eagles from it. The 2 warrior eagles were covered in blood. One of them had a broken wing and there were bite marks on its body. The condition was not good. It can be said that they were in danger. Zhang Xingyun paused for a moment and immediately started treatment. After a while, the condition of the 2 elves was stable and out of danger. Thank you. Can you leave a contact number? I will return the reward to you later. No, it's okay. Zhang Xingyun refused. He remembered these 2 elves. They fought very bravely, stood on the front line, fought with those crazy elves, and protected the crowd. Is there an elf doctor? Is there one? Someone in the crowd was shouting, but no one responded. Only a few flight attendants took some medicine boxes and went over, but there was nothing they could do, because the man needed to be treated for his elf, not a person, and the flight attendants only knew how to treat people. The elf doctor on the plane had died in the accident just now. Originally, there were about 30 staff members on the entire plane, but now there are only 20. More than 10 people died in the plane crash just now, but all the passengers did not die, only a few were injured. Seeing that no one came forward, Zhang Xingyun walked out of the crowd and helped treat the man's elf, and also helped treat other people's elves. The situation is very dangerous now. If you can cure one more elf, you will have one more fighting force, and it will be safer in this dangerous wilderness. After working for a while, Zhang Xingyun washed his hands and sat on the ground with Madame Huaji, looking a little tired. Nangan Yao and a few others were also sitting nearby. They also participated in the treatment just now, helping out. Thanks to you this time. If it weren't for you, I don't know what would have happened. After resolving the matter, Li Guanghuan came over, shook hands with Zhang Xingyun, and said gratefully. He also saw what he did. From the initial assistance to the current treatment, what he did greatly reduced the casualties. It's my duty. We are on the same plane. We advance and retreat together, and we should naturally help if we have the ability. Zhang Xingyun stood up and replied with a smile. Well, it's a blessing for society and the country that you can have such awareness. Li Guanghuan praised and then asked a few people's names, schools and other information. It's worthy of being a top student of Magic City University. No wonder this elf is so strong. Chapter 530 Mysterious Breath. After Li Guanghuan chatted with everyone for a while, he rushed to deal with things. Zhang Xingyun and others sat aside and chatted. I don't know how we encountered the arrival of the secret realm. Didn't they say that the emergence of Heaven's Secret could avoid this situation? Peichengin talked about this incident during the chat. Yes, it is reasonable to say that with the existence of Heaven's Secret, such a thing would not happen. Hearing this, several people also felt that something was strange. Maybe the machine placed here has a problem, or there is another accident. Zhang Xingyun guessed, took out the elf food from the space, and fed the electric shock monsters. In this place, the safest thing is their own elves. Seeing this, Peichengin and others took out food from the space and let their elves eat. It's still raining outside, and it won't stop for a while. We have to stay here. After feeding, we will rest and recover our strength. I don't know what we will face next. Zhang Xingyun suggested, and took out food from the space again, placed it in the middle of the 5 people, and ate together. There was still a batch of food stored in his space, enough for a period of time, and Page Engine and the others were the same, so there was no need to worry about the food problem. After eating, they sat on the mats taken out from the space and began to meditate and breathe. The high-intensity battle just now consumed a lot of energy, not only him, but also the elves. Huff. A few minutes later, Zhang Xingyun entered a state of meditation and recovered quickly. You let us eat this? Why did they eat that one just now? Do you think we are ordinary people, not trainers who are easy to bully? After practicing for a while, a noisy sound came to his ears, which also made him exit the state of meditation. Looking up, it was still the original troublemakers who were making a fuss and scolding the two female flight attendants. The two held several plastic bags in their hands, which contained emergency food, which was prepared for this situation. This kind of food can guarantee a certain amount of nutrition, but the taste is very ordinary, so those people started to make trouble. Where's your foreman? Call her out, or your captain? I bought a super member ticket, and you give me this? A young man with long golden hair, wearing a tight and gorgeous suit, was shouting. Sorry, sir, these are all we have here, please. Don't say anything, call your leader out. Does that person need a beating from society? So arrogant? Don't you see what's going on now? Maybe, he's probably the eldest son of some family, but it's a bit stupid now. Zhang Xingyun and the others looked at the scene in front of them, and then said, forget it, let's just ignore it. Zhang Xingyun felt the movement of the mud layer from underground. Since he broke through to the peak of the late quasi-heavenly realm, his mental power can be released at a long distance, and he can detect the movement in the distance. Of course, this will also consume his mental power, but the current situation is special, so this is the only way. What's up, Xingyun? Did you find anything? The people around him asked, when they saw Zhang Xingyun's expression. I felt the movement of the mud underground. There must be an elf passing by. I'll go and take a look. Don't make a sound. Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and said, I'll go with you. As soon as the voice fell, Nangang Yeo said immediately, no, I'm just going to take a look. It's okay. Zhang Xingyun smiled and comforted, rejecting Nangang Yeo's request to go together. Finally, the Nidoking that Zhang Xingyun took out drilled into the ground, and it led the way and rushed underground. Nidoking is huge, but as a ground type elf, it is not slow to dig tunnels. After twists and turns, Zhang Xingyun and Nidoking soon came to a place more than a kilometer deep underground. Half bent over, in the newly excavated tunnel, the smell of soil hit his face, and the soil here was also a little damp. Zhang Xingyun's body flashed with an energy body like a bubble, wrapping him and Nidoking together, to prevent the breath from being exposed. Nidoking is here. Nido wherever Zhang Xingyun pointed, Nidoking dug, at an incredibly fast speed. Zhang Xingyun radiated his spiritual power, like a human radar, detecting the surroundings. Soon Nidoking dug through, and came to a tunnel with a diameter of about 3 meters. This tunnel is probably the work of Onyx or Steelix. Other Pokémon don't have this ability. Zhang Xingyun knew it, as soon as he saw the tunnel, but what puzzled him was that there were more than one tunnels around. Within his perception range, there were more than 10. There are Pokémon coming. Nidoking, let's hide first. After saying that, Zhang Xingyun and Nidoking disappeared from the spot and came to another place. Their breath was also blocked and did not dissipate. Boom, a rumble sounded, and a dozen rumble rocks rolled over, heading straight to the distance at an extremely fast speed, as if the front was extremely attractive to them. At the same time, there were also many rock Pokémon running in the distance, heading in the same direction as these rumble rocks. This scene naturally aroused Zhang Xingyun's suspicion. Is there something ahead? It attracts so many elves. Zhang Xingyun asked in confusion, looking at the direction where the elves were running. The elf of Bangulus on his belt was vibrating, as if reminding him of something. In telepathy, Bangulus's excited voice came, urging Zhang Xingyun to go ahead, saying that there was a breath there that attracted it, and made it restless. What can arouse your interest, Bangulus? Is it a peerless treasure? A rare treasure? Zhang Xingyun thought about it, and decided to rush over to see what was going on. Although this was somewhat contrary to his intention to come down, looking at the situation, it was very likely that there was a treasure ahead. Even Bangulus had such a strong sense of it. It must be a rare treasure. Nidoking, did you feel it? Nidoking nodded slightly and said that it felt it, but not very strongly. Zhang Xingyun used magic to cover up his and Nidoking's breath and moved forward quickly in the excavated tunnel. From time to time, he would encounter elves coming from behind, but each time he was sensed in advance and avoided them. The deeper you go into the earth, the more elves you sense. Most of them are rock-type elves with varying strengths. The weakest ones are at level 1 elite, and the strongest ones are at level 1 king. Chapter 531, Divine Beast Richer Rock. There are so many elves, including a heavenly king level 1. What's ahead? Sensing the movements of the elves around him, Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but wonder what's ahead. The scene in front of him seemed familiar. It was the scene when he rushed underground to rescue Bangulus, who was still an egg, when he landed in the secret realm of Cloudstar Forest. The only difference this time was that the elves he met along the way were no longer elites or other elves of low and medium strength levels, but quasi-heavenly king and heavenly king levels. But he was no longer the same person he used to be. His own strength and the strength of the elves were very different from what he was a year ago. The elves in this space gradually increased. In order not to conflict with them, Zhang Xingyun's forward speed also slowed down. The elves shuttling here seemed to sense each other's breath, but they didn't pay attention to it, but sped up their speed, as if they were afraid that other elves would arrive first. Boom! Zhang Xingyun, who was shuttling in the tunnel, felt the falling mud and sand, and the whole passage was shaking. It was obvious that a large group of elves ran over. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun put Nidoking back into the Pokeball, disappeared from the spot, and went forward alone. After a few teleports, his speed increased a lot. He passed one Pokémon after another along the way, and did not emit any breath, moving quickly. Boom! As soon as Zhang Xingyun landed, there was a ground shaking sound in front of him, and several airwaves spread over the place where he was immediately cracked, and the upper mud layer also broke and fell down. Boom! When the original position collapsed, Zhang Xingyun teleported and came to another tunnel. Bang bang bang, there were bursts of noises in the distance. In the perception of mental power, it was the Pokémon in front who were fighting. It was a group of giant rock monsters and a group of big north noses fighting. There was also a battle next to them. Among the Pokémon fighting, there were also Steelix and Raiden. Zhang Xingyun quietly moved over from the side without attracting their attention. Passing the fighting elves, Zhang Xingyun shuttled through the tunnel that had been opened up in front of him. He teleported to a stone tablet. He couldn't understand the words on the stone tablet. He took out his mobile phone and took a photo, then continued to move forward. After a while, Zhang Xingyun came out of the tunnel and came to an open place. This space was not opened up temporarily, but looked like a relic. The walls around the space seemed to be carved with something, but it was no longer clear. The buildings collapsed on the ground, in a mess. The collapsed buildings were very simple, but their style was different from what he had encountered in the tomb before. Roar, roar, roar. In the depths of darkness, several roars sounded, as if fighting for something. What a mysterious breath. After arriving here, Zhang Xingyun's perception appeared a mysterious breath coming from the source of the sound. Zhang Xingyun immediately rushed over and shuttled through the collapsed ruins. It can be seen from these collapsed buildings that this relic is very large, but unfortunately, they have all been destroyed and turned into ruins collapsed on the ground. Their collapse was related to the tunnels under the ground. The ancient buildings, coupled with the sudden external force, became like this. Zhang Xingyun quietly rushed to the scene, stopped in a corner, and quietly observed the surroundings. What caught his eye was a stone about 1 meter high, emitting a bright white light. Most of the stone was white, with orange and yellow colors dotted in it, emitting a mysterious and vast pressure, which Zhang Xingyun in a corner could also feel. Strangely, Zhang Xingyun felt a very weak life energy on the mysterious stone. Roar, roar, roar. There were several types of elves present, such as Panyangui, Big Steel Snake, Long Langan, etc., looking at the stone in the middle with greed. As soon as one of the Long Langans moved forward, it was attacked by other elves, and there was a continuous roar for a while. The strength of those elves was not weak. Among them, there were as many as 6 at the level of Light Heavenly King, and 3 of them had particularly strong auras, reaching the level of the Late Heavenly King. At this time, the dozen or so elves present were on guard against each other. If any of them dared to be the first to step out, they would face the bombardment of other elves. For a moment, all the elves present stood still, not daring to move forward. What is that? How can there be a breath of life? The quality of its life energy is extremely pure. What kind of elf could it be? Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun quietly moved over again and got closer. He opened the system to scan, and the scan results immediately appeared on the system interface. Name, Richeloc's life core status, extremely poor, life energy is dissipating, and the life breath inside the core is extremely weak. Repair is extremely difficult. Repair materials, crystal of light dust, origin of rock, blood yang ironstone, sea marrow silver. This is a life core from the elf world. The core is pregnant with the mythical beast Richeloc. Due to unknown reasons, its consciousness has not yet been born, and the vitality of the core has dissipated. Fuck, it's actually the life core of a mythical beast. Zhang Xingyun was shocked. The rock in front of him was actually the life core of the mythical beast Richeloc, and according to the information on this system, there is still a chance of resurrection. The life core of Richeloc is set by the author, and it should not have appeared in the anime. Mythical beast. Zhang Xingyun's face flushed with excitement, but he did not interrupt the casting. In the corner, he looked at the life core of the mythical beast Richeloc on the field with fiery eyes. If he gets this, and then follows the cultivation method displayed on the system, then, wouldn't it be possible to cultivate a mythical beast? Even if the resources required are very scarce and extremely precious, there is hope, right? Divine beasts. When Zhang Xingyun thought of this, his breathing became a little rapid. This is a divine beast. Reality is not a game. In games, divine beasts or quasi-gods are not difficult to obtain. But reality is different. In reality, divine beasts mean strength comparable to natural disasters and outstanding status. In some small countries, they can serve as a national guardian. Even in a great country like China, they are first class. If a family has a divine beast, then this family will become a top family. A university will become a top school with the existence of a divine beast. Zhang Xingyun once remembered that Nangang Yan said that their family was not simple. It was a family that owned the divine beast Yandi. Chapter 532 Seizing and Running Away. Although Zhang Xingyun was very jealous, he did not dare to act rashly. The current situation was not very good. In front of him were 6 elves of the first level of the Heavenly King, who were also coveting the life core of Richeloc. If he acted rashly, he would definitely retaliate. In addition, this time he was underground, and it was not risky to face these elves. Those elves did not find him, because their attention was on the life core, and he was in a corner, and he was still using the breath retaining technique. Once he got close to the life core and entered their attention range, even if he had the breath retaining technique, he would be discovered. What should I do? Is there a good way to get the life core and escape safely? In the corner, Zhang Xingyun touched his chin and thought. Zhang Xingyun did not want to give up the life core of Richeloc in front of him. This was a divine beast. There was a slight probability of resurrecting it. This temptation was also something he could not refuse. Several elves on the field became a little agitated, as if they could not bear the temptation of the life core. For them, the life core in front of them is rare in 10,000 years. As long as they swallow it, they will definitely be able to enjoy great benefits. For themselves, it will be a qualitative leap. They felt a vast, pure and noble life energy on this life core, which must be left by a very high level elf. Are you getting agitated? Zhang Xingyun looked at the movements of the steel snakes and his face became solemn. He had not figured out how to deal with it. Now if he wants to take the life core away, he must face those elves. How to take it away is also a problem. I wonder if the life core can be brought into the space. If it can, Zhang Xingyun's confidence will at least increase by a few %. Otherwise, he will have to run away with the life core. Although it looks only more than 1 meter high, it must be heavy, and it will definitely slow down his speed. Hey, I can try with the Pokeball. That life core is barely a life core, so the probability of entering the Pokeball is higher than that of the space. It's better to try the Pokeball than the space. When Zhang Xingyun sensed the weak life energy of the life core, he thought of something. Regirock's body is made of rock, so if this life core is also made of stone, whether the Pokeball can store Pokémon in the Pokeball depends on whether the Pokémon has life fluctuations. Although the life fluctuations of the life core in front of him are weak, they are still there, so it meets the conditions in this respect. The storage space cannot store living things, so naturally it can't be put in. Its breath is very weak and weak, equivalent to a seriously injured Pokémon. With the binding force of the Ultra Ball, it should be able to be captured at once. The probability is very high, and it is very likely to be realized. If it cannot be realized, you can try to collect it into the space at that second, or carry it away. These are all speculations, and there is a certain degree of uncertainty. We must be fully prepared. In this situation, no matter how cautious we are, it is not excessive. Then there is the question of retreat. Where to retreat? Where to retreat? If we have a retreat route, we can retreat back and then use the breath suppressing technique. Zhang Xingyun thought, trying to figure out the feasibility of this. Several giant rock monsters on the field collided with Rumble Rock, and other elves also began to rub against each other, and the restlessness intensified. Boom boom boom, the elves on the field started fighting there and practiced to rush towards the life core. A giant steel snake of the king level came in front of the life core, opened its bloody mouth, and bit it down. Boom, a grating cannon came and hit the head of the giant steel snake, blowing it up and pulling it away from the life core. The aftermath of the grating cannon also hit the life core, blowing it up and rolling to the side. A Rumble Rock was about to go over, but was held down by a giant rock monster next to it, and then rushed over it and rushed out. The held down Raiden was naturally unwilling. After a few roars, his whole body glowed, and he rushed straight to the other elves. Perhaps he wanted to help the other tribesmen present and increase the chances of the most powerful tribesmen to participate, so he had to sacrifice himself. A hot and destructive force emerged from it, and a dazzling light illuminated the area. There was a loud bang. The whole space was shaking non-stop, and for a while, the airwaves rolled, and the earth and rocks collapsed. Zhang Xingyun, who was standing aside, was also affected. Fortunately, the problem was not serious, and he was in the middle of the big rocks. Boom, affected by this, Regirock's life core was blown up again, and fell to the ground. The place where it fell was only 7 or 8 meters away from Zhang Xingyun's position. Here comes the opportunity. Zhang Xingyun was overjoyed, and he didn't have time to think about anything else. He moved to the front of the life core in an instant. He already had a super ball in his hand and touched it. The life core turned into a red light and flew into the elf ball. Roar. Several blood red eyes stared at Zhang Xingyun with deep anger in their eyes. It really worked. Goodbye everyone, Zhang Xingyun said in surprise. Holding the Pokeball, he quickly ran away and disappeared on the spot with a teleport. He didn't dare to stay for long. Seeing the appearance of these Pokémons, they would definitely tear him apart. Roar. Several extremely angry roars came from behind, accompanied by a trembling of the earth, and those Pokémons rushed to chase. Zhang Xingyun in front didn't care about anything else and used all his strength to teleport, shuttling through the passage. After performing more than a dozen teleports in a row, Zhang Xingyun stopped, attached a breath-covering spell to himself, and retreated quickly. Although he had opened up a distance with the Pokémons behind him, Zhang Xingyun knew that he had not escaped yet. He had already felt several breaths locking on him. Although the elves behind him did not have spiritual power like him, they also had their own detection methods. From a distance, Zhang Xingyun could feel 3 auras locking onto him. It was probably the work of the 3 most powerful elves. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun moved faster. After teleporting more than 10 times in a row, he felt a little uncomfortable in his head, so he took out a red pill and swallowed it. After swallowing the red pill, Zhang Xingyun's aura rose and exploded, and the speed of teleportation increased. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533 Escape. A shaking came. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself that it was not good. so he knew to teleport to a nearby tunnel and avoided the attack. Boom, the whole underground space shook, sand and soil leaked sideways, and the tunnels, that were not strong to begin with, collapsed. Before Zhang Xingyun could stand still, he teleported several more times and came to a collapsed tunnel. There were 3 powerful auras behind him, quickly shuttling through the tunnels and rushing straight over. The movement just now was caused by them. For them, shuttling under the ground was like walking on flat ground, with no obstacles at all. They could also determine Zhang Xingyun's position and chase him by sensing the ground. Even though Zhang Xingyun used the art of concealing his breath, he was sensed by the 3 most powerful elves behind him. Not good. Isn't this direction where the crowd is? I have to change direction. Zhang Xingyun realized this and quickly changed direction and moved to other directions. The most important thing now was to leave the underground, preferably to the ground, so that there would be more choices and the chance of escape would be greater. It was not conducive to fighting underground. There were 3 elves in the late heaven leaking stage alone, and he had no chance of winning. Hula la, while running away, Zhang Xingyun sensed the sound of water flowing on the left. Hearing the movement, the water flow was quite large, and there should be an underground river. He was delighted and rushed in that direction, but there was no road in front of him. He could only ask Nidoking to come out and ask it to help. Nidoking, hurry up, dig in this direction. Nidoking also knew that the situation was urgent and quickly waved his claws to dig a tunnel. Hurry up, hurry up. The 3 auras behind were getting closer and closer, and Zhang Xingyun couldn't help feeling a little anxious. Not far away, a big steel snake shuttled through the mud and ran quickly, with a voice full of rage. Underground Nidoking's speed was still a little slow. There's still some distance to go. Nidoking, speed up. Nidorono, this speed is really slow. It will definitely catch up. Ordinary clearing bullets have no effect on the first level Pokémon of the heaven leaking. Puff, a breath came faster than the big steel color. It was a dragon head mole of the middle level heaven leaking. With a bang, it appeared behind Zhang Xingyun. A pair of scalded eyes stared directly at him, and its body moved. Its claws glowed with the color of steel, and grabbed it. Clang! Giant claw mantis rushed out of the Pokeball and hit back, fighting fiercely with the dragon head mole in this narrow place, and the sound of clanging metal and iron clashing rang out. In these few seconds, Giant Claw Mantis completed the Super Evolution and Spirit Possession technique, and its strength was also improved to the middle level heaven leaking. It didn't suffer any loss in fighting with the dragon head mole, but it was a little bit hindered by the terrain. A dragon's breath shot straight from the back. The dragon-headed mole shuddered and dodged under the body to avoid the attack, while the giant mantis moved upward to block the attack. Hassan the giant mantis retreated repeatedly, but still resisted. Puff, the place where the giant mantis stood squirmed a few times, and the dragon-headed mole emerged again and rushed towards the giant mantis. During the collision, several bloody wounds were left on the giant mantis. Behind, the big steel snake with red eyes rushed over, staring at the giant mantis and Zhang Xingyun behind it. Humph, you thought I was afraid of you. Zhang Xingyun snorted coldly, teleported to the body of the big steel snake, threw a few things in his hand, and a flash of light lit up, accompanied by a burst of cold air. The big steel snake's body was already stained with ice chips, which also caused it to roar repeatedly, and a iron tail swung towards him. Bang, the place where Zhang Xingyun was originally standing was torn into pieces. Hostile light flickered around Steelix's mouth, and within a few seconds, a beam of destructive light shot over. Boom, this tunnel couldn't bear this kilometer, shaking and collapsing. Hassan, this attack was still blocked by the giant claw mantis. Where Zhang Xingyun stood, the dragon-headed rat broke through the mud layer and rushed towards him. The claws flashed with cold light, and it grabbed him directly. Hey, Electabuzz and Charizard came out of the Pokeball, and in the narrow space, they joined forces to block the attack of the dragon-headed rat. After 2 moves, Electabuzz and Charizard were repelled by the dragon-headed rat, and fell in the tunnel with blood on their bodies, almost unable to fight again. In a hurry, the 2 did not use Super Evolution and other means of amplification, and their strength was only the Quasi-King level. Facing the dragon-headed rat of the king level, they were severely injured in the blink of an eye. Roar, roar, roar. 2 more roars came, and 2 powerful auras approached from 2 directions. Zhang Xingyun put the 2 electric beasts back into the Pokeball and looked at the scene in front of him with a very solemn expression. The situation was already a bit difficult to deal with, and the arrival of the 2 Pokémons made the situation even more serious. I hope I can delay it. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun thought in his heart that, if he really couldn't escape, he would throw out Regirock's life core and let them fight for it, and then he would take the opportunity to escape. Those Pokémon's target is unlikely to be him, but this life core, as long as he threw the things out, he would definitely attract their attention, and his chances of escaping successfully would be greatly increased. Divine beasts and the like, you have to be alive to enjoy them. Compared with his own life and the lives of the Pokémons, Zhang Xingyun still chose the latter. As long as people are alive, there is still hope for everything. If people die, then everything is over. He still knows this clearly. Nido, the excited voice of Nidoking, and the sound of rustling sounded in his ears. Alright. Zhang Xingyun's eyes lit up. While he was fighting, Nidoking had already dug a long distance. After putting the giant claw mantis back into the Pokeball, he disappeared from the spot with a teleport. Several angry Pokémon followed behind, chasing him relentlessly. Here, Zhang Xingyun put Nidoking back into the Pokeball, disappeared from the spot with a teleport. The next moment, he appeared in the water, followed the water flow, and rushed to the underground dark river. Zhang Xingyun heard the roars from behind. It was the Pokémon behind chasing him. They found that Zhang Xingyun had entered the water flow and roared continuously. Goodbye. Zhang Xingyun sneered at the sound in the distance, and Blastoise took him along the water flow. Steelix can walk on the intricate underground, as if it were flat ground, but it can't do it in the water. In addition, they hate water by nature, so they can only sigh at the water. Even if they chase in the water, their speed cannot be as fast as in the mud. Chapter 534, Out of the Dark River. Hualala. In an underground river, Zhang Xingyun half crouched on the back of the water arrow turtle, and the water arrow turtle carried him in the water. At this time, Zhang Xingyun was wearing a diving suit, so he was not afraid of suffocating underwater. Now in the underground river, there was no indicator or anything. Zhang Xingyun didn't know the direction at once, and didn't know where to go. He could only rely on his intuition to choose a direction to go. The underground river was also pitch black, and he couldn't see his hand in front of his face, but this didn't affect him. Under the perception of mental power, it was clearer than the naked eye. Water arrow turtle, be careful. I feel several life breaths hidden in the dark. 2 quasi kings, 6 elites, and no king level elves have been found yet. Telepathically, Zhang Xingyun warned the water arrow turtle to be vigilant. In this dark underground river, there are also elves, hiding under the river mud on the side. Very obscure, but Zhang Xingyun still sensed their traces. Kami Blastoise nodded slightly, indicating that it understood. Puff. As soon as Blastoise finished signaling, a water gun shot out, targeting Blastoise and Zhang Xingyun. Kami Blastoise hit back, sending out a water cannon, blocking the original attack, and hitting the darkness below. Woo roar. Several roars came from underground, and several lobsters rushed over. Swish, swish, swish. Dense foam rays shot over, and met the attack of Blastoise, and then there was a loud bang, causing a wave of air, pushing both sides back several steps. Those lobsters were the elves that Zhang Xingyun had sensed just now. The aura of the 2 leading lobsters was a quasi-king level elf, with a pair of huge claws shining coldly, and it seemed that they were quite powerful. Roar. After the roars of the 2 lobsters, they launched another attack. Bang bang. The 2 sides started a contest in this area of water, with constant roars. Roar. Several lobsters wanted to attack again, but found that the target of attack was gone. The 2 auras appeared a few hundred meters away, and then appeared more than 1,000 meters away. After roaring a few times, the 2 lobsters took them, and chased after them. Zhang Xingyun moved several times in a row, distanced himself from the lobsters behind him, and successfully got rid of them. After feeling that there was no danger around, he released the water arrow turtle and let it lead him forward. As for those lobsters, he didn't have much energy to take care of them. There was no benefit in entangled with them. It was just a waste of energy. Maybe the noise caused would attract other powerful elves. Zhang Xingyun was carried by the water arrow turtle. He took out a few pills from the space, swallowed them into his stomach, and his face became ruddy. Earlier, when he was avoiding Steelix and the others, he had to burst out once in order to distance himself from them at the moment of seizing them. Now, he had to teleport several times in a row. In addition, he had to release his spirit power to detect the surroundings and cast spells to conceal his breath. He was consuming energy every moment. Hoo-la-la, this underground river was very vast. Blastoise swam for more than an hour without seeing any other scenery. It was all dark. He also encountered a few spirits along the way, but they were not discovered and hid far away. This won't work. We have to think of a way. After swimming for more than an hour and still in the underground river, Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Gilulu. A sound rang in his ears. Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw that it was made by an ordinary level shelter. By the way, you can ask. Seeing the ordinary level Shelduck, Zhang Xingyun's eyes lit up and he teleported to the Shelduck. Before it could react, Zhang Xingyun's eyes glowed and he faced the Shelduck and hypnotized it in the first time. Have you seen any light or a shiny place? Zhang Xingyun asked the Shelduck telepathically. As long as there was light, it meant that the ground could be reached. Fortunately, the Shelduck really knew. The confused Shelduck seemed to remember something and pointed in a direction. Zhang Xingyun took the opportunity to ask it where the most powerful elf nearby was. The confused Shelduck told him everything. After getting the answer he wanted, Zhang Xingyun teleported and left here, leaving the confused Shelduck. On the next section of the road, Zhang Xingyun hypnotized several elves in the dark river, some elite and some ordinary. The answers he got were almost the same as what Shelduck said. He had an understanding of this area and a direction. He headed straight for his destination. Along the way, he avoided many Pokémons wandering in the water. After half an hour, he saw a bright place in the distance, and there was light shining from it. It should be there. Zhang Xingyun murmured, and brought Blastoise to the bright place, crossed the rocks covered with green moss, and after a few teleports, he came to the ground. Finally out, Zhang Xingyun said happily. The heavy rain outside had stopped, and the sun jumped out from the black clouds, emitting warm light. The green grass under his feet had water drops on the stems and leaves. Now he was standing on a concave grassland with a large pit. The sun shone into the pit and sprinkled on the underground river. Thank you for your hard work, Blastoise. Zhang Xingyun picked up the Pokeball, put the Blastoise back into the Pokeball, released Pidgeot, and rode Pidgeot into the sky. Looking down from Pidgeot's back, there was a green jungle below, and there were several towering mountains in the distance. Pidgeot, fly over here and take a look. Zhang Xingyun couldn't see the original barren mountain at all, so he could only let Pidgeot take him around to look for it. Maybe this area is too big. After searching for a while, he still couldn't find the location of the barren mountain. It's troublesome. I haven't returned yet. Will they think that I have encountered an accident? Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but think of this. He was afraid that Nangang Yeo and others would go underground to look for him. See if we can get in touch. Zhang Xingyun felt that the space energy around him was not as chaotic as before, so he took out his mobile phone and tried to contact, but the mobile phone still couldn't get in touch. Zhang Xingyun took out the Pegasus communicator and made contact. Great, there is actually a signal here. Looking at the signal that appeared and disappeared on the communicator, Zhang Xingyun said happily. This communicator is worthy of being customized for trainers. There is still a signal here, but the price is a bit expensive. Zhang Xingyun hurriedly dialed, but found that he couldn't get through. Thinking that the signal was not very stable at this time, he edited a message and sent it over. Chapter 535 Return and Lies. On the other side, Nangang Yeo and the others were running around in a panic. What should we do? Xingyun has been in there for more than 3 hours. Why hasn't he come out yet? Peichengin said worriedly, looking at the cave on the ground with a worried look on his face. I'll go down and take a look. Nangang Yeo said, releasing Gardevoir and was about to enter. Yeo, wait a little longer. Maybe Xingyun got lost or was delayed. With his strength and his character, he must be fine. Zimeng on the side persuaded. It's been so long. I have to go and take a look. Maybe he encountered an accident. I can also help. Don't, maybe he has already come out, but he came out from another ground and is rushing back. You also know that this underground space is very complicated. Zimeng was still persuading Nangang Yeo not to go down first. Nangang, if you want to go down, I'll go with you, and I can take care of you. Seeing Nangang Yeo like this, Long Zhao said. And me. Pei Chenjun also expressed his opinion. Okay, if you want to go down, then take me with you. Seeing that several people were like this, Zimeng also wanted to go down with them. No, I'll go down alone. Don't worry, I won't go far. I'll just explore the surrounding area and come back. Ding ding ding. While arguing, the communicator placed a side rang. Several people looked at each other, immediately picked up the communicator, opened it, and saw that their faces were full of joy. This message was sent by Zhang Xingyun, saying that he was in a state at the moment, and asked them not to worry. Great. Xingyun sent a message. Pei Chenjun said happily. Seeing this, Nangang Yeo no longer thought about going down. Hahaha, I originally thought that I could contact the rescuers, but I didn't expect to contact Xingyun. Ding ding ding. After speaking, the communicator rang again. Not only did their communicators ring, but many communicators in the cave and among the crowd also rang at the same time. Great. This is the message from the rescuers. We are saved. Hahaha. We are saved. We are saved. Everyone, be quiet, be quiet. Hahaha. We are saved. Ahem. Everyone, be quiet, don't attract the elves. Wait for the rescuers quietly. Several security personnel on the scene were shouting with loudspeakers. The excited people slowly calmed down after hearing this. Everyone was happy, and they changed their previous dullness. Let's wait too. Nangang Yeo and the others also relaxed, sat aside, and waited. In the south of the barren mountain, there were several teams of more than 10 people shuttling among them. The dozen people moved in an orderly manner, wearing military combat uniforms, and were rushing towards the direction of the barren mountain. Bang bang bang. Not far away, there were also the sounds of fighting, with great momentum. There were battles of the first level of the King of Heaven participating in it, and a large-scale battle was taking place. On the battlefield, many soldiers in military uniforms, holding weapons and elves, fought against the oncoming elves. The situation on the field was changing in the direction that was favorable to the military. Roar. A steady and powerful roar, accompanied by a breath of overwhelming pressure, came quickly. A Pidgeot with bright feathers and a kingly aura appeared on the field, exuding a strong pressure. As soon as it appeared, several weak elves around it all crawled on the ground, whimpering. I didn't expect that there would be a champion level Pidgeot here. I really didn't expect it. At the same time as the Pidgeot appeared, a figure flew out from the military team. It was a man with grey hair on his temples, a square face, and a white military uniform. He exuded an extremely strong pressure, which was not much less than the Pidgeot on the opposite side. It can also be known that this person is a capable person and a champion level strongman. In a blink of an eye, the soldier in white military uniform and a natural bird fought with the Pidgeot, and the two combined to suppress the Pidgeot. Cry. There were more cries in the distance, and a group of Great King Swallows, led by a different colored Great King Swallow, joined in. Hey, there are so many high-level elves here. It seems that there are many high-level resources here. We need to pay attention. The soldier who was fighting with Pidgeot exclaimed in surprise, and then fought with Pidgeot. The leading different colored Great King Swallow was also a champion level elf. As soon as it arrived, it joined the battle. With the participation of these elves, the battle became more chaotic, and the situation of the group that was originally in an advantageous position was gradually leveled. I don't know if they received my message, but don't go down. Zhang Xingyun rode on the back of Super Pidgeot and flew forward. Now he was worried that Nangang Yeo and others would go underground to look for him. Hey, the military's message. The rescuers have arrived. Zhang Xingyun took out the communicator from the space again and received the military's message. He looked at the signal again, and the signal became much better. It should be the work of the military. Zhang Xingyun was pleasantly surprised to find that he could locate the location. He immediately called Nangang Yeo's phone number, contacted them, and rushed to the destination according to the location. Now that he knew the specific location, Super Pidgeot opened fire at full speed and rushed there at a very fast speed. There were also elves blocking the way along the way, but they were all cleared away. Bang bang bang. When he was about to reach the place, he heard movement in the distance. After looking for a few times, Zhang Xingyun flew towards the barren mountain. Where did you run to? Are you okay? As soon as Zhang Xingyun landed, Nangang Yao and others surrounded him and asked with concern. It's okay. I just came out from another place and don't know the location. Zhang Xingyun smiled and signaled them not to be nervous. What happened underground that made you come back now? Etched asked. There are a group of big steel snakes and giant rock monsters underground. They are fighting for treasures. There are also several king level beings among them. Zhang Xingyun briefly explained it, but did not mention Richelok's life core, but replaced it with a rare treasure. The matter of the divine beast is of great importance, so it is better to keep it secret for the time being. I see. After hearing this, several people looked enlightened. You can't do this next time, and there is no need to see what treasure it is. Safety comes first. Nangang Yao advised, with a face full of concern. I know. Zhang Xingyun said gently. What kind of treasure has caused the elves of the first level of the Heavenly King to go crazy? Etched fell into deep thought. I don't know. I just observed it from a distance for a few times, and didn't get close. I was discovered by one of the elves of the late Heavenly King. I don't know what it is, but it must be a peerless treasure. Chapter 536 Return again. Someone is coming. While the 5 people were chatting, the spiritual power outside detected a group of people rushing over. It's the rescue team. That's great. We can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Zimeng felt relieved, and her expression became relaxed. The 5 of them cooperated with the remaining 10 or so security personnel on the plane, and the 10 or so trainers who were temporarily called, a total of 30 people. It was extremely strenuous to protect more than 100 people, and they were also afraid of accidents. They had been worried that, if there were Pokémon attacking, they were afraid that they would not be able to protect all these people. Now that the rescue team has arrived, they can relax. The rescue team that came and handed over to the sentry outside and then walked into the cave. That's great. You are finally here. Woo woo woo. Ha ha ha. They are saved. They are saved. The people in the cave couldn't help but cheer when they saw the rescue team, and some people even cried with joy. Several captains in the rescue team stood up to appease the cheering people, and then they calmed down and packed up their things and prepared to retreat. In fact, there was nothing to pack. 5 minutes later, more than 200 people, including Zhang Xingyun, walked out of the cave together. Zhang Xingyun and his 5 companions were also recruited by the military and placed in 5 positions in the crowd to protect the crowd. 200 people rode on the backs of flying elves, in groups of 4 or 5, not as panicked as when they came. Zhang Xingyun rode on the back of the violent flying dragon and looked around. Roar! The violent flying dragon roared in all directions, exuding a mighty dragon power, scaring away some of the wild elves who were watching, allowing the team to move forward faster. The rescuers looked at them sideways. The young are formidable. They have such strength at this age. I heard Captain Lee say that this plane crash was thanks to this young man. Several rescuers sighed at the back. The elf he was riding was only a quasi-king level 1. Ha ha ha, Liu. What are you sighing about? Didn't your nephew also get into Magic City University? There's no comparison, no comparison. My nephew is only in the elite high level training and can't compare with these students. The soldier called Liu Zhang shook his head and laughed. With such strength, I heard that he also has two king level elves. He must be a famous student of Magic City University. My nephew is just an ordinary student. In our special operations team, only Secretary Zhao and Commander Lin have such strength, so I sigh. There were a total of 40 rescuers, most of whom were quasi-king and elite elves, led by 2 king masters. These 40 people were also the elite of the army. What are you talking about? Now is not the time to chat. A majestic voice came from the back, and several people responded one after another, and then dispersed. There was no large-scale attack along the way, only a few sporadic elves, but they were all driven away. It took the crowd half an hour to reach the military station here. When they arrived, the battle had already subsided and was now in the final stage. Only a scene after the battle was left. There were still a few flames in the distance that had not been extinguished. The ground was full of pits, and blood and feathers were scattered around the pits. When Zhang Xingyun and his companions walked by, they could still hear screams of pain in the camp, which should be the people who were injured in the battle just now. Zhang Xingyun and his companions were met by two senior military officials in a tent and praised, especially Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo. Haha, heroes come from young people. They are so outstanding. No wonder Gu Changfeng from the Magic City has urged me many times. A man in white military uniform said loudly. His temples were a little grey. He was also a champion who had taken action earlier. From his tone, he knew the president of the Magic City University. Afterwards, he chatted with a few people for a while and asked the 5 of them to go and rest. The army would set off in an hour. Zhang Xingyun and his companions responded and left the tent. Under the guidance of a soldier, they came to an unused tent to rest. It turned out that it was the influence of the battle between Darkrai and Cresselia that caused us to be like this. It can be regarded as our bad luck. Nangang Yeo said helplessly. They were also unfortunate. In the chat just now, Zhang Xingyun and his companions also learned that the accident was caused by the battle between the nightmare god Darkrai and the beautiful dream god Cresselia. Zhang Xingyun and his companions were not very clear about the reason for its advent. That person was unwilling to tell the truth and probably kept it secret. The 5 people also knew that they were now in the jurisdiction of Jeju City, Dangshan Province. Have a good rest. We can reach the Magic City tomorrow, Zhang Xingyun said, and began to meditate to restore his energy. His current state was not good, and he needed to adjust his breath. Seeing this, Nangang Yeo and his companions also found a place to meditate. Soon, there was a noise outside, and several people came to ask them to evacuate together. The people on the plane were sitting in military vehicles, and some soldiers were guarding the vehicles, rushing towards Jeju City. The noise caused by the people was naturally not small, and it also attracted some elves to observe from a distance, not to mention that it had no effect. It was just that when passing by the tribes of several elves, they encountered some troubles, which were solved in a few minutes, and they continued to set off. When they arrived in the city of Jeju, the sun was already hanging high in the western sky, emitting a blood-like sunset, resisting the arrival of the night. Zhang Xingyun and the other 5 rested in Jeju City for a night. As soon as they arrived at the hotel lobby, Li Guanghuan came to thank them and sent a batch of high-level resources, saying that it was a reward for several people, thanking them for their assistance and not allowing them to return it. After thanking them for a while, he left because he had to deal with other things. Seeing this, the 5 people put it away. After Li Guanghuan left, another pair of government officials came to find the 5 people, awarded them medals, certificates of honor, and gave them a batch of resources and a large amount of merit points. There was also a group of media who came to interview the few people and asked about the plane crash. After answering a few words, Zhang Xingyun returned to his room to rest and continue to rest and regulate his breathing. The sequelae of today's outbreak have not yet fully recovered. The next day, when it was still dawn, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of turbid air. After regulating his breathing all night, he had recovered almost completely. After washing up, he went to Jeju Airport with Pei Chenjin and others, and took the 7:30 AM flight back to the Magic City. Whoosh, the plane shuttled through the clouds, breaking the original clouds into pieces, and quickly flew towards the Magic City. Chapter 537, Welcoming Party. Looking at the scenery outside, Zhang Xingyun and the others relaxed, leaned back in their chairs, and looked at the scenery outside. There shouldn't be any accidents this time, Zimeng suddenly said. Of course not. We were unlucky last time, and encountered the disaster of the fierce battle between the mythical beasts. Long Zhao replied with a smile. As for the specific reason for the battle between the 2 mythical beasts, the few people were not clear. There were many different conclusions on the internet, and there were also many reasonable and well-founded speculations. No one knew what happened. It's good that nothing happened this time. By the way, did you call Teacher Pei and the counselor to report that you are safe? Pei Chenjin suddenly asked. Yes, I called them last night. I called them too. Me too. I asked them not to tell my parents. Zhang Xingyun replied, and then began to close his eyes and rest, thinking about how to restore the life core of Richlock in his hand. According to the method displayed by the system, this recovery period is not short, and a large number of high-level resources must be added during this period. Zhang Xingyun calculated what he had, and found that he could only collect 30% of what he needed, and there were still 70% of the resources that he had not found. By the way, I have accumulated a lot of university points and merit points. I can see if I can exchange them for what I need. For the rest, I can collect energy points and exchange them in the system. Fortunately, there is a system. Otherwise, I don't know if I can find all these resources. Zhang Xingyun was grateful that the existence of the system saved him a lot of trouble. If there was no system, he could only run around and didn't know when he could collect all these treasures. It was because these treasures were too scarce. The higher the level of the treasure, the harder it was to get. It's coming slowly. Don't be anxious now. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun also relaxed and stopped thinking about it. Nangang Yeo looked at Zhang Xingyun beside him, with a thoughtful look on his face. Whoosh, the plane shuttled through the white clouds, and occasionally there were a few sounds and a few movements, but they soon subsided. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the plane flew to the Magic City airport and landed steadily. Zhang Xingyun and his companions followed the crowd, and walked down from the plane. As soon as they got off the plane, they saw Lan Yuchen and his companions coming to pick them up. You are finally here. I'm glad you are okay. I told you that with your strength, you will definitely be fine. Sure enough, Lan Yuchen came over with a smile on his face, and gave Zhang Xingyun and his companions a big hug. After a few pleasantries, everyone walked out of the airport. Lan Yuchen and his companions had already booked a private room to welcome them. It's all thanks to Xingyun this time. You don't know that when we just got off the plane, many elves of the first level of the king came over and scared me to death. During the meal, Zimeng patted her chest and said with some fear, yes, it was thanks to Xingyun who opened the situation in time, otherwise it would be troublesome. Here's a toast to you. Cheers. Zhang Xingyun smiled and raised his glass and clinked it. Let's not talk about this. Is your trip to Dragon Valley going well? Lan Yuchen changed the subject and talked about Dragon Valley. Not bad. My Tyranitar has evolved completely and I've gained a lot. My desert dragonfly has evolved as well. I've gained a lot too. Zhang Xingyun and the others said one after another. It's a pity that I didn't cultivate a dragon type Pokémon. Otherwise I'd go take a look. Come on, have some food. Lan Yuchen smiled and greeted them. Knock, knock, I'll go open the door. It should be Teacher Pei. Qian Xiaoming stood up and said, and when he came to the door and opened it, it was indeed Pei Wenbin, and behind Pei Wenbin was the counselor Li Yingren. Teacher Pei, Teacher Li, you two are here. Please come in. Qian Xiaoming invited the two to stand up, and Zhang Xingyun and the others in the private room also stood up, and cheered the two teachers to take their seats. They asked the waiter to add 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks. I don't know what to say, but I'm glad you're okay. Pei Wenbin said after sitting down. Thank you for your concern, teacher. Zhang Xingyun said. It's okay. Xingyun, Nangang, the 5 of you come to my office tomorrow. Li Yingren said to the few people, and then smiled and said, I'm not criticizing you, but I'm here to receive your rewards and give a speech about your bravery this time. I thought so. Lan Yuchen next to him said with a smile. Everyone ate a warm and slow meal in the box. At midnight, Zhang Xingyun and the other 4 returned to the dormitory. After washing up, they went to rest. The next day, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo came to Li Yingren's office. Dean Lin happened to be there, and the 5 were called to the competition hall for some praise. Talking about the excellent results achieved in this exchange and study. Amidst the applause, Zhang Xingyun took the prize handed over by the principal Gu Changfeng, and the flashlights below kept lighting up, clapping at the people on the stage. Then, Nangang Yeo, Pei Chenjin and others also took the prizes awarded by Gu Changfeng one after another. After everyone received the prize, the host suddenly said, let our freshman champion talk about his feelings about this exchange and learning. Everyone applaud and welcome him. The victory of this exchange and learning is due to the concerted efforts of all the students, not just my own efforts. Zhang Xingyun took the microphone from the host and said. Xingyun is still as humble as ever. Zhang Xingyun smiled and returned the microphone. Afterwards, Nangang Yao and several other participants in this exchange competition also spoke one after another and expressed their feelings. After the award ceremony, Zhang Xingyun came to the training room opened by the school and observed the rewards this time. Great, there are actually several materials in the prize that can be used. After observing the rewards in the space, Zhang Xingyun showed a happy expression and was very satisfied with the rewards this time. In the training room, after searching around, he did not find anything like a camera, so he released Regilog's life core. Take out a batch of resources from the space and start to allocate materials according to the information provided by the system. After trying a few times, he successfully prepared the materials he wanted. He then took out pieces of crystals that were shining with white light from the space and placed them around the life core. As soon as they were placed, white smoke floated from the crystals and was absorbed by the life core in the middle. Zhang Xingyun just poured the prepared materials on the core. Sizzle, the life core made a sizzling sound, and the crystals placed next to it quickly turned into powder, and the floating smoke was completely absorbed. The system is not wrong, it really works, Zhang Xingyun said happily. After absorbing this batch of treasures, the life breath of this life core became stronger. Chapter 538, Increasing Income and Reducing Expenditure. Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but be happy when he saw the life core in front of him. This meant that he could subdue a divine beast. Then he took out the treasure from the storage space and placed it next to it for it to absorb. He brought the elf to the side and started training. Bangulus pointed to the life core with a salivating look in his eyes. Bangulus, this is not food, it is your future partner. Zhang Xingyun explained with a smile, so that Bangulus would give up this idea. Bangulus smiled awkwardly after hearing this, and did not continue to ask for it. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun also took out the treasure that hit the rock system from the space, and fed it to Bangulus, as a comfort. Bangulus happily ate it. Wood Gecko, your main means of attack now is your tail, and how to use your tail to deal huge damage is the focus of our training. Zhang Xingyun said to the Wood Gecko. The Wood Gecko nodded as if he understood, with a serious look on his face. Beside them, Nidoking and the others were training on their own. They were already able to train themselves. They would only come to Zhang Xingyun when they encountered some shortcomings or did not understand something. Chamo bang under the guidance of Zhang Xingyun, the Wood Gecko slapped the pillar with its tail. There was an LCD display on the pillar, which would show the force of the Wood Gecko slap, which was convenient for training. The direction is wrong, and the point of force should also be moved to the side a little. Zhang Xingyun commanded behind the Wood Gecko. Chamo the Wood Gecko responded and trained hard. Seeing that the Wood Gecko was on the right track, Zhang Xingyun walked around to see if the training process of the electric monsters needed his correction. After a round of inspection, the giant claws and the others did not make any mistakes, but the training room was too small, which was not conducive to the full burst of the two elves, the giant claws and Nidoking, making them timid, and the training effect was not good. Zhang Xingyun also noticed this point and only let them do some energy control training to increase their control over the use of energy. Buzz Regirock's life core vibrated slightly. Zhang Xingyun came to see that the treasures that were originally placed there had all weathered, and the energy they carried had been absorbed by the life core. After spending so many resources, the life breath is only this strong. Then the materials needed must be more than I imagined. After feeling it, Zhang Xingyun came to the conclusion that there was a discrepancy with his own ideas. It is worthy of being a divine beast. After Zhang Xingyun sighed, he took out a batch of treasures and placed them around the life core for it to absorb. Then, he sat at a table and calculated the assets in his hands. Nidoking and Mantis must not be lacking in resource supply. Zhang Xingyun was very sure of this. Even if he wanted to cultivate the divine beast Regirock, Nidoking and others could not be missing. At present, he has Nidoking, Electric Beast, Lady Huaji, Pidgeot, a total of 13 elves, and the strength of each elf is in the rising period, and the resources paid are not few. The strength of the two metal monsters is also growing rapidly. They are still a little short of the right time to evolve into the quasi-god Metagross. By then, a large amount of resources will be spent, unless they don't want to evolve so perfectly. I thought I had accumulated so many resources and was already a rich man, but I didn't expect that. After deducting the expenses, there is not much left. It is impossible to save money. The supply of Nidoking and others cannot be reduced. The only way is to increase the source of income. Zhang Xingyun pondered, thinking about how to increase the source of income. Some resources below the Quasi-King can be traded with money, but those at the Quasi-King level or above cannot be traded with money at all. Zhang Xingyun has no shortage of money. He still has more than 10 billion elf coins in his bank card. In the Manaphy incident, he received a reward of 10 billion elf coins. If you have money, you don't have to worry about low and medium level resources. You can buy low end and mid-range resources, turn them into energy points, and then exchange them through the system. This is also feasible. You can make advanced energy blocks and use them to trade for resources. Hunting in the wild is also a large part of your income, so you can also consider this aspect. Zhang Xingyun touched his chin and thought. Thinking of this, he felt a little relieved. Hey boo in the distance, the electric shock monster was calling him, as if it had a question to ask him. Zhang Xingyun got up and came to the side of the electric shock monster and gave him instructions. The life core placed on the side was flashing a tiny light, absorbing the essence of the surrounding treasures and supplying itself. At night, Zhang Xingyun returned to the dormitory. The busy man is back. As soon as he entered the dormitory, he heard Lan Yuchen's voice. "You're back." Zhang Xingyun smiled and sat on the sofa. "What are you busy with today?" Pei Chenjun, who was on the side of the sofa, handed him a glass of water and asked. "Training elves." Zhang Xingyun took the water and drank it. "The second brother is back. He is diligent. No wonder his strength grows so fast." Zhang came out of the bathroom while wiping his hair and blew it aside. "Chenjun, you have earth cloud crystal and blood yuan stone on hand." Zhang Xingyun reported the names of 7 kinds of minerals in a row and asked Pei Chenjun. "These can be used to revive the life core of Ridgelock and can also be used to feed Bangulus." Pei Chenjun's family is famous for cultivating Bangulus, so there must be some treasures such as minerals. "I have 5 of them on hand now, and I don't have the others," Pei Chenjun replied. After that, he took out a batch from the space and handed it to Zhang Xingyun in person, saying that it was a gift to him. Zhang Xingyun naturally would not take it for nothing, so he also took out a batch of resources from the space as an exchange with him. Pei Chenjun could not refuse, so he accepted it. Lan Yuchen and Kan Xiuming also came to ask about this and took out a batch of mineral resources. At Zhang Xingyun's request, they also accepted a batch of energy cubes given by him, which was not taken for nothing. "Do you have a new idea for the cultivation of Bangulus? It requires so many minerals." "Yes, I'm trying it out, and it is still unknown whether it will succeed or not," Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xingyun packed his clothes and went to the bathroom to wash up. After washing up, he played with his mobile phone on the sofa. Many messages today were replied intermittently. The ones who sent the messages were his former high school classmates. They heard about his story and sent messages to ask about his safety and chatted with him. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xingyun put away his mobile phone, said goodnight to his 3 roommates, and returned to his room, sitting cross-legged on the bed, and began to practice. Chapter 539 Analysis and Conflict. On the second day, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes when it was still light. After washing up, he went to the breeding house of the school and took Nidoking out for training. Then he ate, trained, and let Regirock's life core absorb energy. The schedule was very full, and 3 days passed quickly. That night, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao wandered around the school to relax. "I'm going to train." After walking around the grand scene on the campus, Zhang Xingyun said, "Okay, rest early. I see you have been so diligent recently. Don't get tired." "Okay." Zhang Xingyun sent her to the downstairs of the girls' dormitory. "That," Zhang Xingyun said hesitantly. "What's wrong? Is there anything you want to tell me?" Nangang Yao turned around and asked, smiling sweetly, Her big watery eyes seemed to be smiling, looking at him, waiting for his next words. That, nothing. Zhang Xingyun seemed a little hesitant and said lightly, okay, then I'll go back. Nangang Yeo said softly. Tomorrow is the weekend. Do you have time? If so, let's go to the city tomorrow. I don't think I've ever accompanied you there. Zhang Xingyun suddenly said, when she turned around. Okay, I have time tomorrow. Nangang Yeo smiled and replied, then looked at him and said, do you have anything on your mind? You can tell me. No. Zhang Xingyun shook his head quickly and said bluntly, really? Nangang Yeo asked suspiciously. Really not. Well, you can tell me if you have something on your mind or if you have any difficulties. Nangang Yeo smiled quietly, turned around and gave a hug. Zhang Xingyun only felt a burst of fragrance coming and the warmth of jade in his arms. Zhang Xingyun was stunned and he was a little at a loss. He belatedly hugged her. After the two hugged for a while, they separated and Nangang Yeo also walked back to the dormitory. Zhang Xingyun watched the beautiful figure disappear around the corner, and then he moved his feet and left the place. So romantic. Nangang Yeo just opened the door of the dormitory and saw 3 people lying on the balcony. Meng smiled at her. What are you doing there? Looking at the 3 people standing there, Nangang Yeo said. Look at someone hugging. How is it? How does it feel to hug? Meng came over and winked. You will know if you find one yourself. Nangang Yeo rolled her eyes at her and looked down from the balcony. The place where the 2 hugged just now was clearly visible. Oh my, it's hard to find it. Meng came over with a smile. Longs around the others also came from the balcony, smiling at Meng who was playing tricks. What do you think? A man seems to have something on his mind, but doesn't tell his girlfriend. What will happen in this case? Nangang Yeo suddenly asked, looking at the 3 roommates in front of him. Yeah. The 3 people instantly became energetic when they heard this. Yeo, I know. There is definitely something fishy here. Meng was the first to say, with a very affirmative tone. Then tell me. Nangang Yeo looked at Meng with interest, looking forward to her speech. Think about it. What is a girlfriend to a boy? A future partner must have a very important position. Don't you think so? Yeah. The 3 nodded, motioning her to continue. Analyze the specific situation. If he loves you, he will definitely explain everything to you in detail. If he doesn't love you, he will find some excuses to get by. Meng analyzed, and the 3 nodded from time to time. Then Meng, you see it so clearly, why don't you have a boyfriend yet? Long Zhao suddenly said. Let's talk about this later. What we are talking about now is Yeo's problem. Meng said embarrassedly, continuing her analysis. So there are only 2 possibilities now. Which 2? The first one is that he still loves you, but he doesn't want to tell you. This can be analyzed in detail, such as he is threatened, forced, or has his own reasons. The second one is that he just doesn't love you anymore and has another woman in his heart. My advice to this kind of man is to break up immediately. Don't wait a moment. After saying that, Meng posed in a cool pose and continued. Combined with your situation, Yeo, there is only one truth. It is the first possibility. What a wonderful reasoning. How did you come up with this? Why are you so silly in class? Long Zhao clapped her hands and said with a smile. I watched it on TV and combined it with my own reasoning. What you said is equivalent to not saying anything. You also mentioned the first possibility. If you analyze it in detail, there are several other possibilities. Wang Ziju said on the side. Hey, can we analyze it again? Tonight, I, Sherlock, will lead you to deduce the real answer. While several people were deducing, Zhang Xingyun came to the training room and quietly watched the Sherlock's life core absorbing energy. Just now, he called Nangang Yeo to tell her about Sherlock, but for some reason, he changed the subject when he opened his mouth. Should I tell her? Zhang Xingyun was very entangled in his heart, as if there were 2 villains arguing in his heart, one saying he should tell her, and the other saying not to tell her. Chamo Mu Shaogang came to his side and pulled his sleeve. What's wrong with Mu Shaogang? Are you hungry? Chamo Mu Shaogang nodded and gestured. You've worked so hard. This is the energy cube for you. Today's training has been completed. You can take a rest. Chamo Mu Xiaogang took the energy cube, immediately threw it into his mouth, and ran to the training equipment to continue training. What a hard-working kid. Zhang Xingyun exclaimed at the behavior of the wood gecko. Then he looked at the electric beasts who were playing games on the side, shook his head, and said nothing. The electric beasts had also completed their training tasks, and were playing games now. You electric beasts, don't lead the wood gecko astray. Hey boo kami kami hisji bangji. The electric beasts responded and continued to play the game in their hands. Zhang Xingyun smiled, and came to the life core. After these 3 days, with the purposeful supply of energy, the life energy in the life core is no longer as weak as before, like a candle in the wind, floating unsteadily. There is still a long way to go. Keep working hard. After feeling it, Zhang Xingyun encouraged himself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540 Date. After packing up, Zhang Xingyun left the training room and returned to the dormitory. When he arrived at the dormitory, he saw Pei Chenjun sitting in the living room, and Lan Yuchen and the others were not there. Where are they? Why can't I see them? Zhang Xingyun asked. They went out to play. It seems that they went with Zhang Wenchen and the others. Oh. Zhang Xingyun replied, and then packed his clothes, and went to wash up. Everyone naturally has their own diplomacy. They are already college students and adults, and they are also adapting to this society. Last night, Zhang Xingyun heard Lan Yuchen say that the two of them would not come back tonight. It seems that they went to a disco or something. How is your Bangulus training? If you burst out with all your strength, can you have the combat power of the first level of the king? Pei Chenjun asked, while sitting on the sofa reading a book after washing up. Not yet, it's always a little short. It's stuck between the king and the quasi king. It's not going up or down. It will take some time to break through. Zhang Xingyun thought of Bangulus's performance in the past 2 days, and said it truthfully. What about your Bangulus? He should have the combat power of a heavenly king. I'm still a little short of that, about the same as you. Pei Chenjun said helplessly, picking up the coffee on the side and drinking it. Heavenly king is a big hurdle. You have to hone your strength a lot before you can cross this hurdle. Yeah, that's right. The two chatted, and Zhang Xingyun also took out a few books to read. He has been very busy recently and hasn't read much. The two read books and chatted in the living room until midnight, said goodnight to each other, and went back to their rooms. Richer lock. Zhang Xingyun put the books aside. There was a richer lock on the page of the book. It was obvious that this book was about richer lock. Zhang Xingyun sat on the bed, with stars twinkling around his body, and entered a state of cultivation. There was no conversation all night. Early the next morning, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and got out of bed to wash. After washing, he stood in front of the mirror and gestured with a few nice looking clothes. Why, you are going on a date today, and you picked out clothes. Pei Chenjun, who came out of the bathroom, saw Zhang Xingyun like this, and said with a smile. Yes, Chenjun, come and help me see the style of this dress. Zhang Xingyun still attaches great importance to this date. Since he and Nangang Yeo became a couple, they have not had a formal date. There are many things to do on weekdays, such as going to the new foreign province, going to the imperial capital to participate in the exchange competition, and training elves on weekdays, which takes up a lot of time. On the other hand, Nangang Yeo's dormitory is in a similar situation. Nangang Yeo sits in front of mirror, dressing up. Zimeng Meng and others are helping. Put on a lighter makeup, not too heavy. Yeah, Yeo has such a white and delicate skin, and she is naturally beautiful, so there is no need for heavy makeup. You have to dress up beautifully to surprise him. Click. The door of the dormitory rang, and Lan Yuchen and the others walked in from outside. Hey, Leo, you are dressed so handsomely. Are you going on a date? As soon as the two came in, they saw Zhang Xingyun's appearance and asked curiously. I guess so. Zhang Xingyun smiled and was quite satisfied with his appearance. Oh, then I have to give you some advice. I have a lot of experience in this regard, Lan Yuchen said enthusiastically. Have you chosen the place for today's date? Yeah, I guess I have. I just don't have a plan. Oh, second brother, you are not good at this. How can you not have a plan for a date? I'll send you a few tips. By the way, have you prepared a gift? Thank you, but I have prepared something. Zhang Xingyun looked at the clear sky outside and murmured. Do you want a tie? No, I'll just wear this sweatshirt. I'm not going to an interview. Zhang Xingyun smiled and walked out of the dormitory, closing the door with a snap. Have fun. Don't come back tonight. After Zhang Xingyun left, Lan Yuchen poked Zhang Xingyun with his arm and said, did we miss something when we were not in the dormitory yesterday? How should I know? I can only wish him happiness. Go take a shower. I'm so tired after playing all night. I even have dark circles under my eyes. Zhang Xingyun shrugged, put away his clothes, and went into the bathroom to wash up. You two played so crazy last night, Pei-Chen said, looking at Lan Yuchen's dark eye bags. It's okay. I had a great night. Take care of yourself. Okay. On the other side, Zhang Xingyun came to a flower shop in the school, bought a bouquet of flowers, and waited not far from the downstairs of the girls' dormitory. When he arrived, he found that he was not alone, but there were several other boys, probably waiting for their girlfriends here. Hey, I'm here. Feeling a familiar voice behind him, Zhang Xingyun turned his head and found that it was Nangang Yeo. Why are you behind me? I thought you were upstairs. This bouquet of flowers is for you, my beautiful self. Zhang Xingyun smiled, a flash of surprise in his eyes, and handed over the flowers in his hand. Thank you. Nangang Yeo happily took the flowers handed over by Zhang Xingyun. Let's go. Okay. Nangang Yeo took his arm forward, and the two walked out of the school. Really, I should have asked him to wait downstairs for a while. Yeo actually went downstairs so quickly. Really? Zi Meng said on the balcony of the dormitory. Okay Meng, I don't mind. Why do you mind? Long Zara next to her said, pulling Zi Meng into the living room. Today is sunny and warm. It's a good time to go out for an outing. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo walked on the school road, snuggling together and talking. I haven't been with you much during this period. Let's go to Langteng Square later. Okay, I'll listen to you. Are you still going home for the new year? Zhang Xingyun asked softly. Yes, Nangang Yeo said, and then said, during the new year, come with me to Jinling. Come to my house and sit down. I'll take you to meet my parents and brother. Nangang Yeo smiled and looked directly at Zhang Xingyun's face. This? Zhang Xingyun looked a little nervous and hesitant when he heard it. Why? Don't you need it? No, it's not that I don't want to. Zhang Xingyun shook his head quickly, indicating that he didn't mean that. Then why are you nervous? I'm just taking you to meet my parents. Don't worry, my parents are very good and won't make things difficult for you. I'm not nervous, I just feel a little surprised. Ha ha ha. Zhang Xingyun had a smile on his face and was happy in his heart. She was going to take him to meet her parents. Chapter 541 The Mysterious Kitten Elf. The two came to the busy Langteng Plaza. Langteng Plaza is located in the Magic City, where every inch of land is valuable. It occupies a large area and has all kinds of goods. Even the security guards in the mall are elite trainers, leading a large wolfhound in the middle stage of elite, patrolling everywhere. It is worthy of being under the command of Langteng Group. Even the security guards here are elite level 1. If it were me a year ago, no one would even want to be a security guard. Zhang Xingyun looked at the patrolling security guards and laughed. It's different. They have already exhausted their potential. You were different a year ago. A year ago, I also worked as a security guard for a few years. At that time, I thought it was quite easy and wanted to keep doing it. You won't. Why? There is a reason why I won't. Today is the weekend, and many people who are resting have made an appointment to hang out. The mall is crowded with people, and the sound of chatting and laughing, communicating with shopping guides, and electronic broadcasting are mixed together. It is very lively and prosperous. On both sides of the road in the mall, there are all kinds of goods, which are dazzling. Zhang Xingyun and his companion walked and stopped, and bought whatever they liked. When passing by a row of claw machines, Zhang Xingyun noticed that Nangang Yeo looked at the dolls for a few times and then stopped. Which one do you like? I'll grab it for you. Zhang Xingyun pointed to the claw machine and said, you can also grab dolls. Of course. He led Nangang Yeo to the claw machine and looked at the cute dolls in the claw machine. You don't need to use supernatural powers. Look, I have the secret book of catching dolls. Zhang Xingyun said as he walked forward, exchanged 3 silver coins, and operated the claw machine. Nangang Yeo watched with a smile on her side and did not stop her. When she looked here just now, a figure flashed by and caught her attention, but it disappeared before she could take a closer look. Not the cute Pokémon dolls in the claw machine. But seeing Zhang Xingyun like this, she did not stop him and just took it as it was. Joa, which one do you want? The Pikachu one, right? Okay, look at this. Click. The silver coin was inserted into the machine, and the doll machine immediately rang. Under Zhang Xingyun's operation, it began to grab dolls. The descending claws grabbed the Pikachu doll accurately, swiped it, and grabbed it. Zhang Xingyun took it in his hand and handed it to Nangang Yeo. How is it? Even without using supernatural powers, it can still grab it correctly. Zhang Xingyun said with some pride. So amazing. How did you do it? This has a formula. I saw a math god from the Imperial Capital University using a formula he created on the internet, so I studied it myself for a few times. Zhang Xingyun explained that a few days ago, he saw an experiment tried by a math genius from the Imperial Capital University who was called Wishan on the internet, and he wrote it down. What's the formula? I'll try to grab it too. Nangang Yeo also became interested and said to Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun started to talk beside her about the angle, distance, strength, and so on. Hahaha, I really caught it. After spending a while under his guidance, she spent a few silver coins and really caught the doll. Seeing Nangang Yeo happy, Zhang Xingyun was also happy. While the two were busy catching dolls, a little fire dragon doll behind them moved, and its eyes looked at the two people who were catching dolls curiously. Strangely, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo, the two ability users, seemed to have no feelings about the peeping of this doll. The two were also quasi-king level ability users, which was impossible according to common sense. After the two happily caught dolls for a while, they returned with a full load of dolls and walked to other places. Along the way, Nangang Yeo was smiling, holding a few cute dolls in her hands and saying something. Zhang Xingyun stood beside her, smiling and agreeing with a doting look in his eyes. Kyumi, the little fire dragon in the claw machine, started to move and disappeared into the machine out of thin air. It flashed behind the two people and followed them. It looked left and right and seemed very curious about the two people, especially Zhang Xingyun. The original little fire dragon also changed its appearance, turning into a pink kitten with a long tail and a pair of cunning eyes looking around. Strangely, everyone around, including the patrol security guard's big wolfhound, a spirit with a keen sense of smell, did not sense it, as if it did not exist. Qiu, the kitten-like spirit flew to a place where a large clock with exquisite workmanship was placed, and clicked curiously. Dong dong dong, several deep and loud bell sounds echoed in the entire space, attracting passers-by to look over. Strange, why is it ringing? It's not time yet. A saleswoman came to the clock and said with some confusion, and then asked for instructions from her superiors on the intercom on her shoulder. Kimmy, the kitten-like elf, covered its mouth and laughed as if it had done a prank and continued to follow Zhang Xingyun. Why is the big clock over there ringing? Zhang Xingyun and the others looked over when they heard the sound of the big clock. Maybe it's broken. It's almost 10 o'clock now. I've ordered a private room here. Let's go have breakfast first. Zhang Xingyun looked at his phone and found that it was past 10 in the morning. Okay. Nangang Yeo smiled, took his hand, and squeezed into the crowd. Kimmy, the kitten-like elf, also followed, floating behind the two of them and even in front of Zhang Xingyun, waving her little hands at him and making a few cute faces at him. But Zhang Xingyun seemed to be unable to feel it, without any feeling, and talked and laughed with Nangang Yeo. Soon, the two walked into an elegantly decorated restaurant. Excuse me, do you have a reservation? A waiter came to the two of them and asked politely, "Yes, this is my reservation information." Zhang Xingyun replied, opening the phone interface to indicate, "It's Mr. Zhang. Please follow me." The waiter smiled and took the two to the reserved box. "If you need anything, call me at any time," the waiter said and retreated. After Nangang Yeo opened the door, she was greeted by a carefully prepared scene. The box was carefully decorated according to Zhang Xingyun's reservation requirements. As soon as you enter the door, you can see a flower cluster composed of 999 roses, which looks very romantic. As soon as the door is opened, soothing and pleasant music sounds. Looking inside, there are some other decorations. Chapter 542 True and False. Nangang Yeo. Nangang Yeo stood on tiptoe and kissed his cheek, then walked in happily with a smile on her face. Seeing her so happy, Zhang Xingyun also became happy and followed in. Kimmy, some of the elves flying in the air, looked left and right, called out softly, and followed in. When it wanted to go in, the door just closed, but strangely, it just floated over, and the physical door seemed to have no effect at all. Kimmy, a pair of big blue eyes, looked around the room, gesturing various postures in the air, very active. "These took you a lot of thought, don't do it next time." Nangang Yeo smiled and waved her hand, her face full of smiles, and it can be seen that she was in a good mood. "It's okay, come and eat something to fill your stomach," Zhang Xingyun responded and greeted. The food was also a loving breakfast designed by this restaurant. The taste was not bad, and the two were very satisfied with the food. "Xingyun," Nangang Yeo suddenly said while eating. "I'm here, what's wrong?" Zhang Xingyun responded and looked at her. "If there is anything, you can tell me, we will take care of it together." Nangang Yeo looked at Zhang Xingyun very seriously, with a firm look on her face. "Okay, I promise you," Zhang Xingyun said gently, putting his hand on her soft jade-like hand. Kiyomi, looking at the two humans in front of her talking affectionately, the elf floating in the air, covered her mouth with her hands and laughed. After laughing, she came to an unnoticed corner, directly through the packaging object, opened her little mouth, and ate all the food inside. Kiyomi, it seemed that the food was very much in line with its appetite, and it was flying in the air in joy. This elf was small in size, like a kitten, with a pair of big blue eyes, which made it look very cute. From the movements, you can tell that this is a naughty and energetic elf. If it appears in front of Zhang Xingyun, he will definitely recognize that this small, cute, naughty elf is the legendary Dream. Dream has the genes of all Pokémon, and can learn almost all the moves of Pokémon, so many people think that it is the ancestor of Pokémon. Dream is lively and naughty by nature, curious, likes to play, and wanders around the world at will. When he sees something he is interested in, he will come forward to find out. Kimmy Dream flew directly to Zhang Xingyun's side, looking left and right, as if he wanted to see him in a flower. On Zhang Xingyun, Dream found that multiple energies appeared on one person's body, but they were not messy, not conflicting, and extremely pure. He couldn't help but be a little surprised. In all these years, it seems that it has not seen such a human being. The breath it exudes is somewhat similar to the world tree where it lives, which makes it feel very cordial. Zhang Xingyun felt a strange feeling, but he couldn't say it. "What's wrong?" Nangang Yeo, who was beside him, saw Zhang Xingyun's look, and asked with concern. "No, I just have a weird feeling, which I can't explain." Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and explained. "That may be because you are too tired these days. Pay more attention to rest, and don't get too tired. Nidoking and the others are also very hard-working elves. Just take your time and don't rush." "Okay, I'll listen to you. I will have a good rest," Zhang Xingyun replied, thinking that maybe he was really tired recently, so he had this feeling. After returning to the dormitory, he would not practice and have a good sleep. "Since you came back, you have been training for several consecutive days. If I hadn't asked you to go out for a walk last night, you would still be training. My fault, my fault." Zhang Xingyun quickly admitted his mistake. "I don't blame you. It's a good thing that you work so hard. But there should be a limit to training. Did you feel a lot of pressure when you saw Long Yun's strength soaring in the imperial capital?" "Not entirely." Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and said, and added at the end, "I'll tell you. Hey, why is this empty? I don't remember eating it. Zhang Xingyun picked up a plate, opened the cover on it, and found that it was empty. He was a little puzzled. Forget it. Zhang Xingyun put the things down. He didn't want to care about it at this time, so he picked up other plates and started eating. Kimmy looking at Zhang Xingyun's expression, Menghuan laughed mischievously. I'm going to the bathroom. Nangang Yeo stood up and walked out. After watching Nangang Yeo walk out, Menghuan's eyes rolled around, as if she thought of something, and followed her out. Catch her after a while, Nangang Yeo opened the door of the box and walked in. Without saying a word, she sat back in her original position, and ate the food on the table, but the way she ate was a little wild. As if she didn't know how to hold chopsticks, she grabbed 2 chopsticks in one hand, and directly stuck them into a heart-shaped dessert. She stretched her hand over, put it in front of her, opened her mouth and started eating. Kimmy after eating a piece of cake, that Nangang Yeo was smiling and twisting her body. Jaoa, what's wrong with you? This scene made Zhang Xingyun a little confused. He was stunned for a while. Eating a piece of cake shouldn't be like this. And according to her usual performance, she always ate slowly and elegantly. Why is she like this now? Jaoa, are you okay? Nangang Yeo shook her head and laughed. Do you like to eat this? You look very happy. Zhang Xingyun didn't think about it, and took out his mobile phone to ask. If you like it, I'll place an order. Nangang Yeo snatched the phone from his hand, held the phone with both hands, and clicked randomly. Jaoa, what's wrong with you? Zhang Xingyun put his hands on her shoulders, and asked with concern. Nangang Yeo shook his head, and kept smiling, while holding the phone. Huh. Zhang Xingyun frowned, and found something wrong. He sent out mental power to detect it, and found that the breath had not changed. You are not her. Who are you? How is she? Tell me. Zhang Xingyun turned his hands into claws, stepped forward and grabbed her hands, and subdued her in an instant. Kiyomi ha. Kiyomi. What did you say? Zhang Xingyun heard her call softly, and felt a little strange. He was about to open the system to check and see if there was anything he could get. Suddenly, the person in front of him disappeared out of thin air. How is this possible? Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes wide. He had just released his supernatural power to block the space around him, but the Nangang Yeo in front of him disappeared out of thin air, which shocked Zhang Xingyun. Chapter 543 Fantasy. Zhang Xingyun felt it again, and was shocked to find that he could not even sense the fluctuations in space. Jaoa. Zhang Xingyun became nervous, and was about to perform teleportation, when the door made a click. Hey, what's wrong? Nangang Yeo walked in from outside, and responded when she saw Zhang Xingyun like this. Zhang Xingyun hurriedly stopped, walked quickly to Nangang Yeo, and looked carefully. What's wrong? I just went to the bathroom. What's wrong? Nangang Yeo asked in confusion, a little confused. She just went to the bathroom. Are you okay? Were you attacked or hypnotized just now? Zhang Xingyun asked with concern, looking at Nangang Yeo's delicate face. No, what's wrong with you? Then, Zhang Xingyun asked a few more questions, and she answered them all, and they were all correct answers. Just now, you came here, and you were holding chopsticks, and eating like this. Zhang Xingyun gestured and demonstrated the action of Nangang Yeo just now. Is it true or not? Really? Zhang Xingyun pointed to the pastry that fell on the table with chopsticks still stuck in it. Then, Nangang Yeo's eyebrows also frowned, wondering what was going on. How could another her appear here out of nowhere? Kimmy Menghuan looked at the two confused people, giggling and rolling around beside them. Zhang Xingyun leaned forward slightly, as he had just been pushed. Who? Zhang Xingyun looked around with alert eyes. His intuition told him that the Nangang Yeo was nearby. Kimmy Menghuan giggled, and the laughter echoed in the room. Zhang Xingyun and the other person immediately stood back to back, paying attention to the surroundings. This sound should be an elf, or an elf with strong spatial harmony and hidden abilities. Zhang Xingyun said softly, looking around. Who could it be? Zhang Xingyun's mind flashed through one elf after another, and for a moment, he couldn't determine which elf it was. Listening to the cry, it doesn't seem to have any bad intentions. Nangang Yeo hesitated. Kimmy Kiyomi Menghuan suddenly appeared on Zhang Xingyun's shoulder, stretched out a hand towards her, and suddenly disappeared. Nangang Yeo took a quick glance, and didn't see it clearly. It's a small elf. Pink. Small? Zhang Xingyun thought silently. It seemed to meet these two conditions. It must be it. Menghuan? Zhang Xingyun tried to say. Kimmy the call suddenly sounded in front of Zhang Xingyun, and Menghuan appeared in front of Zhang Xingyun, covering her mouth with her hands and laughing, her long tail moving non-stop. It's really you. Zhang Xingyun recognized Menghuan as soon as she appeared. It's really Menghuan. Nangang Yeo turned her head and looked at Menghuan floating in the air. Kiyomi Menghuan stretched out a small hand and waved at the two of them as if to say hello. Hello, Menghuan. Zhang Xingyun smiled and greeted it. Seeing that it was the mastermind behind the scenes, he also relaxed. Menghuan's personality is more naughty, but it is not a bloodthirsty and murderous elf. Kimmy Huan rolled in the air again, flew to the dining table, grabbed a piece of cake with its little hand, and threw it into its mouth. Kimmy, do you like this? Then I'll order some more. Zhang Xingyun looked at it like this and said. Kiyomi Huan stretched out its little hand and gestured slightly. Zhang Xingyun immediately understood, picked up the phone, and handed it to it. After Huan took it, he swiped the phone. Maybe because Huan acted very naughty and casual, Zhang Xingyun did not feel the pressure of belonging to the mythical beast. Kiyomi Huan flew above the chair and gestured to the two. It's asking us to come forward and sit down. It's very cute. Nangang Yeo smiled, looking at the pink Huan. She only felt cute and had no other feelings, unlike when facing other mythical beasts. Kimmy after the two sat down, Huan took the phone, floated in front of Zhang Xingyun, and shouted, "Okay, the order has been placed. Now just wait to eat." Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Kimmy Nangang Yeo moved the undershade pastry to it, and motioned it to eat. The appearance of Huan caught the two off guard, but seeing that it liked these snacks, the two did not hesitate to take out things, and pass them to it. Huan was not polite either, as if he was familiar with the food. After taking the food, he immediately started eating, stuffing his cheeks with bulging, like a greedy little squirrel. Very cute. Kimmy he threw the last piece of soft and glutinous pastry into his mouth, and then made a satisfied cry, looking very comfortable. Dong hello, Mr. Zhang, your customized pastry has been delivered. Can I go in now? A woman's voice came from outside, asking. When the knock on the door sounded, Huan immediately became invisible and disappeared from the original position. Even the breath disappeared, leaving no trace. Sure, please come in, Zhang Xingyun said. Then, the female waitress pushed the dining cart and walked in from outside, followed by two people. After entering, he cleaned up the plates he had eaten, while the two people behind him were placing the food on the dining cart. Enjoy your meal. After cleaning up, the three waiters bowed slightly and left the box. Kimmy as soon as the three left, Menghuan appeared, looked at the delicious food on the table, and started eating. With two small hands, each holding a cake, he threw it into his mouth one bite at a time. His small body was like a bottomless pit. In a blink of an eye, he had eaten a table of food, but his stomach was still the same. Kimmy Menghuan floated in front of Zhang Xingyun and sat on his shoulder. You have the breath of the world tree. Telepathically, Zhang Xingyun heard Menghuan's soft voice like a child. Really? I don't know, and I haven't seen the legendary world tree. Zhang Xingyun scratched his head. When he watched anime in his previous life, he did see the world tree, but he didn't know if the world tree in reality would be the same as the one in the anime. Kimmy Mew jumped down from Zhang Xingyun's shoulder and changed its shape to look like Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun grinned and greeted the two. It was impossible to tell who was real and who was fake just by looking at the appearance of the person it changed into. It was just that its personality was erratic and its nature was erratic. It changed into the appearance of others and smiled mischievously. Mew has the genetic genes of all Pokemon, and can also become invisible, and transform at will, and can also use all the moves in the fairy world. Chapter 544, Dreamy Departure. Kimmy in the private room, Menghuan leisurely ate the pastries and energy cubes handed over by Zhang Xingyun, without any airs of a mythical beast. It may be because of its own personality or the breath of life on Zhang Xingyun that made Menghuan feel very friendly. Kimmy suddenly, Menghuan was slightly startled, and its big blue eyes looked to the east, as if it had discovered something. Kimmy, it said hurriedly, and disappeared from the spot. When Zhang Xingyun looked over, it had already disappeared from the spot. Did it discover something? Zhang Xingyun asked curiously. He also saw Menghuan's appearance just now. Menghuan, this is the legendary elf. I didn't expect to see it here today. It's so cute. It doesn't have any airs of a mythical beast. Nangang Yeo did not answer his question, but was thinking back to Menghuan's performance just now. By the way, why is it talking to you all the time? Nangang Yeo asked in confusion. Just now, Menghuan spent most of the time chatting with him. I don't know either. Zhang Xingyun smiled and shook his head, then said, it may be because of my supernatural power. It said that the breath on my body is a bit like the breath of the world tree where it lives. Then I'm really curious, what exactly is your supernatural power? Even a spirit like Dream favors you. This is my cultivation secret book. You can check it out. This is the latest volume of the Heavenly King. Zhang Xingyun took out a few volumes of his own cultivation secret book from the space and placed them in front of her. You can try to practice, and if there is anything strange, forget it. Zhang Xingyun suggested. Okay, this is my family's cultivation secret book. You can also take a look and refer to it. After Nangang Yeo received his cultivation secret book, she also took out a volume of secret book from the space and handed it to him. Zhang Xingyun accepted her kindness with a smile. Are you full? If you are full, let's go to the beach for a walk. After receiving the secret book, Zhang Xingyun asked. Okay, it's a good time to go and digest the food. Yeah. The two got up, walked out of the restaurant, and drove to the Magic City beach. The weekend highways in the Magic City are crowded. After driving a few kilometers, they were stuck on the road. Several traffic policemen riding on the backs of wind speed dogs were directing traffic in front. It hasn't changed, even today in the elf era. Looking at the traffic jam in front of him, Zhang Xingyun sighed. You're talking like you came from the old society. Nangang Yeo, who was in the co-pilot seat, heard it and laughed. It's true. I traveled through time 100 years ago to meet you. Ha ha ha, you're really good at talking nonsense. Nangang Yeo laughed, with a look of disbelief. This is too ridiculous. I don't know who it is. When you first met me, you were so alert, as if you were afraid that I would kill people and rob goods. Now you actually traveled through time 100 years to find me. It's too ridiculous. Who knows? Zhang Xingyun smiled. He didn't expect that the girl he met in the wild that day would become his girlfriend now. It can only be said that fate is playing tricks on him. Boom! Just when he arrived at the beach, there was a loud noise from the other side of the sea, accompanied by a beam of light that shot up into the sky, which could be seen from a distance. Whoosh whoosh! Suddenly, the sky and clouds changed color. The dark clouds in the distance spread, and the waves were boiling, raising huge waves. Pitter-patter raindrops fell on the car, making a snapping sound, getting heavier and heavier, and suddenly turned into a downpour. What's going on? Why is it raining so hard? Didn't the weather forecast say there would be no rain today? Let's go quickly. The weather in the distance has changed, and many investigators are flying there. Go back. Many pedestrians on the coast ran back to the car, and drove away. It seems that we can't go to the beach. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. In this environment, the two of them had no interest in wandering around here. Go back. Okay. Zhang Xingyun drove the car, turned a corner, and stopped again. There was a traffic jam ahead. Do you think this has anything to do with Menghuan? That's the direction Menghuan flew to just now. Nangang Yeo said, looking at the dark clouds in the distance, with flashes of lightning in the clouds. It's possible. I hope it's not another Manaphy incident. Zhang Xingyun sighed. He still remembered the last Manaphy incident vividly. The damage was huge. Bang bang bang! In a corner of the sea, Menghuan was surrounded by dozens of elves with strong auras, and two of them were the most eye-catching. One was wrapped in a mecha, with a purple tail exposed, staring at Menghuan, who was trapped in the group of elves. The other was a majestic giant hornet, with a pair of cold and shining double guns, a pair of red secondary eyes, and one was staring at Menghuan. but Meng Huan's sight was looking at the elf wrapped in the mecha behind the giant hornet. Ha, Meng Huan, you finally showed up. A burly figure appeared out of thin air next to the giant hornet. The figure was wrapped in a black robe and his voice was a little hoarse. Go ahead, take it down, before it recovers its full strength. Its genes are very useful. Roar, roar, roar are at the command. The elves present launched their attacks one after another. Mew wandered among the colorful tricks, and her petite figure was always able to dodge them just right. Did you see that, Mew? It's your origin of life, Mew. The man pointed at Mew and said to Mew. Mew, my origin of life. Mew, wrapped in the Mew mech, was still mumbling to himself, looking at the trap Mew. Zzzz, the helmet on its head sizzled and flashed with arcs. It's Mew, my origin of life, then what am I? A replica. Zzzz, boom, a strong breath rose from Mewtwo's body. Is it already the champion level? A skinny hand stretched out from the black robe and lifted the black robe on his head, revealing an old face with a creepy smile on his face, looking at Mewtwo with a smile. He is none other than Team Rocket's Azure Dragon Master. He came to Magic City this time, after receiving a message. To be on the safe side, he brought his leader, Beedrill, with him. Is it for this moment? Why? Are you unwilling, resentful, or what? You are indeed a replica now. Do you want to be the only one? Then you should surpass it. Just like your name, Mewtwo. Sizzle Dream, the only one, a replica. I won't. Bang, a 1,000-foot high wave was set off on the field, which was quite spectacular. Chapter 545, Sharing Richeloc's Secret. Bang, the surging waves from afar destroyed the newly built seawall, and the seawater flooded the land again. Woo woo woo, the alarm of the demon city sounded again, and it could be heard from afar. The alarm sounded too. Is there something wrong in the sea? Hearing the alarm, Zhang Xingyun's face became solemn. If there was another tsunami like a natural disaster, there would definitely be a lot of casualties. Teams of disaster relief workers flew across the sky and went to designated places to carry out disaster relief work. After experiencing the last Manaphy incident, people's reactions were significantly accelerated, and the disaster relief work was carried out in an orderly manner. Not many elves took the opportunity to rush to the shore, and their strengths varied. They were immediately taken down by the attacks of several rescue workers. Woo, a blue figure flashed above, and a breeze blew. Zhang Xingyun was very familiar with that figure. It was Sukyun, and it was dispatched again. SYNOPSIS, you've taken action again. This time, it must be related to the mythical beast. Zhang Xingyun said affirmatively when he saw Sukyun taking action. Normal tsunamis and spirit disturbances did not require Sukyun to take action. Now that Sukyun appeared again, there was only one possibility, which was related to the mythical beast. Mythical beast, soon. Zhang Xingyun looked at the direction where Sukyun flew, his eyes full of longing. Boom, it was pouring rain outside the car, and the two were stuck on one side, unable to move forward or backward. There was an accident ahead, and the traffic was blocked. The waves in the distance were hitting the buildings on the shore, and the seawater had already spread to the shore. This also made the drivers on the road anxious, and the horns kept honking. Hualala every time the sound of the waves hit. It seemed to hit people's hearts, and people became more panicked and anxious. For a while, the whole road was in chaos, with horns and curses filling the air, making it very noisy. Several trainers put away their cars and rode their Pokémon away, while the anxious atmosphere also caused the children in the car to cry. I'll get off for a while. Zhang Xingyun got out of the car and came to the scene of the accident. At this time, it was pouring rain outside, accompanied by a howling wind. Zhang Xingyun walked towards the smoking cars, rescued the people inside, and began to rescue. People in the distance saw Zhang Xingyun on the scene and slowly got out of the car and rushed to the scene to help. Roar, while Zhang Xingyun was rescuing, several megalodon sharks were slapping on the coast, with a pair of scalded eyes looking directly at the crowd, and the crowd became panicked again. Bang bang bang, in an instant, several cars collided and emitted black smoke. Some people also ran out of the car. The seawater had already spread to the highway here. In this situation, Zhang Xingyun healed the people and used his supernatural power to move several cars away to keep the road open. Don't panic, everyone. At this time, nearby rescuers also rushed to the scene to comfort the crowd. After they appeared, people calmed down a bit, and the road was clear again. The owners of the cars that collided did not pursue anything, but stepped on the accelerator and drove away. Several injured people were also taken over by rescue workers, and several megalodons in the distance also went to intercept them. After turning around and finding that nothing happened, Zhang Xingyun returned to the car, and with a bang, he merged into the traffic. Xingyun, the school sent an emergency message asking us to go back. After getting in the car, Nangang Yeo said, "Then let's go back to school first. It should be for this matter. Then let's go back." With this incident in front of them, the two of them had no intention of wandering around anymore. After a while, the two rode on Dragonite and landed on the playground of Magic City University. The spirit management regulations of Magic City allow the use of spirits in times of crisis. The playground of Magic City University was full of people, and Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo also returned to their class cubes. There were several teachers standing on the stage, also preparing. The weather is not good, or you can go out and have fun today. After returning to the class group, Lan Yuchen said, when he stood with Lan Yuchen and others. "No way." Zhang Xingyun replied simply. The rain seemed to have become lighter, but it was still drizzling, and the originally loud alarm stopped ringing. "What's going on? Has it calmed down?" All the students were confused. Dean Lin's cell phone rang, and he was answering the call. "Okay, students, this matter has been settled. We don't need to support it. Sorry for bothering everyone." After a while, Dean Lin put down his phone and shouted loudly. Everyone in the playground could hear it. After listening, the students also dispersed. When they heard that they didn't need to support disaster relief, their faces relaxed. It would be better if you two came slower. It's okay. This is the best result, isn't it? Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Haha, that's right. Lan Yuchen laughed and said happily. It's alright now. Are you going back to the dormitory? I won't go back. I still have things to do. Zhang Xingyun replied, and then walked towards Nangang Yeo. The second brother is busy. If it weren't for this accident, he would be out having fun now. Why would he go back to the dormitory? Big brother, you asked a very poor question. Kian Xiuming beside him said with a smile. Oh, that's true. It's really quite poor. Jaoa, come with me. I have something to tell you. Zhang Xingyun came to Nangang Yeo and the others and said. Yeah. Nangang Yeo nodded, took his arm and walked out. What do you want to tell me? On the way, Nangang Yeo asked curiously. A good thing, and a big thing, you will know later. Zhang Xingyun said mysteriously. What could it be? Hearing him say this, Nangang Yeo thought to herself. While talking, Zhang Xingyun and the others came to the elf training room. After a careful inspection, Zhang Xingyun found no problems. You can tell me your good news now. Seeing Zhang Xingyun being so cautious, Nangang Yeo chuckled and looked at him expectantly. Jaoa, do you still remember the plane crash and the time I went underground? I remember. Is what you want to say related to this? You guessed right. It is related to this. After Zhang Xingyun finished speaking, he took out a Pokeball. Pokeball? Did you capture a very rare Pokémon? Seeing him take out the Pokeball, Nangang Yeo asked. Yes and no. The Pokeball opened, a red light flashed, and Regirock's life core appeared on the scene. Chapter 546 Help. This is. Looking at the Regirock life core placed on the ground, revealing life energy, and emitting a kind of pressure unique to a divine beast, the always knowledgeable Nangang Yeo was also surprised. What is this? This is what I want to say, and it is also my biggest gain in this air crash. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said, then took out the treasure from the storage space and let the life core absorb it. Is it a divine beast? It should be. This pressure is very similar. Nangang Yeo sensed it several times and said affirmatively. She had seen divine beasts several times, and they all had this kind of pressure. The pressure of the stone-like life form in front of her was a little lighter, but it still felt the same. Even if it is not, it has a considerable connection with a certain divine beast. Yes, it is a divine beast life core. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully, and was not surprised at Nangang Yeo's performance. Really? Nangang Yeo squatted down and carefully observed the life core on the ground, then asked, which beast is it from? I looked through a lot of information and documents and made a lot of comparisons. I'm 90% sure that it is a life core of Richalock. Zhang Xingyun said this for some considerations, but he was not completely wrong. In the past few days, he did look up a lot of information about Richalock. I also feel that it is Richalock. After feeling it, Nangang Yeo stood up and answered. You got it when you went underground that time. Yes, when I sneaked into the underground at that time, I found that those elves were not right, which aroused my curiosity, so I followed them. Of course, this was all within a safe range. Zhang Xingyun said, because he had Page Engine to talk to. At that time she almost went underground to find him, worried that he was trapped underground, which touched him very much. It's good that you are okay. So what happened later? Nangang Yeo nodded and motioned him to continue. Later, I used some magic to conceal my own breath, followed some elves, and found the source. It was this, Richalock's life core. When I arrived, many elves had already arrived and were salivating over it, but they were restraining each other, and no one could get it for a while, so I got it later. At this point, Zhang Xingyun laughed. Later, they couldn't resist the temptation and started to snatch it. During the snatch, this life core was thrown not far from me, and I took the opportunity to get it. Your opportunity is really great. At the end, Nangang Yeo said slowly, with an envious tone. She really envied this opportunity. Hahaha, my luck has always been good. Zhang Xingyun laughed. I have been busy with these things these days, trying to see if I can revive it, and now I have some clues. Feeling that the life core is more powerful than yesterday, it proves that the efforts of the past few days have not been in vain, and the method given by the system is also correct. It's still a long way to go. It's still a long way from being revived. As a person with special abilities, Nangang Yeo can also sense the state of the life core. Yes, but I believe it will be revived one day. Zhang Xingyun said affirmatively, full of confidence in the resurrection of Richalock. The life core on the ground seemed to be responding to him, flickering with a soft glimmer. Richalock, it's also one of the divine beasts. Congratulations, future divine beast master. Nangang Yeo smiled and congratulated him, and was also happy that he could get this divine beast. Jaoa, this is also yours. Zhang Xingyun held Nangang Yeo's hand and said affectionately, if I were the trainer of the divine beast Richalock, your parents would probably agree that we could be together. My parents wouldn't mind these. Nangang Yeo replied with a smile. But I want to prove that you didn't choose the wrong person. Zhang Xingyun also laughed. He knew the distance between him and her, and was trying to catch up. Yeah. Nangang Yeo smiled brightly, very happy, not only happy that he had considered her, but also happy that he told her about Richalock. The fewer people know about Richalock, the better. Who else knows about it besides me? No one, only you. Zhang Xingyun shook his head. Really? Nangang Yeo heard this, and the smile on her face became even stronger. By the way, I still have some natural treasures here, see if you can use them. Nangang Yeo thought of a batch of treasures in her space, and quickly took them out. No, I will solve it myself, you just keep it. Zhang Xingyun refused, unwilling to accept her gift. Oh, what's the matter? Yours can be mine, and mine is not yours? What natural treasures does it need to revive it? Make a list for me, and I'll get it for you. Nangang Yeo said excitedly. She knew that Zhang Xingyun's social circle was still relatively small, and it was difficult to get some high-level resources. It was related to the resources needed by the divine beast. If you get it on the government's official website, you still have to go through layers of approval. Really, I have a way. Zhang Xingyun insisted. He felt a little embarrassed to use his girlfriend's resources. Then tell me what you have to say. Seeing Zhang Xingyun like this, Nangang Yeo immediately asked. Is it exchanged on the government's official website, or obtained on the black market? A small amount is okay, but this is indispensable. This? Zhang Xingyun fell silent, because the system is of great importance, even more important than the divine beast. He dared not say it for the time being. Listen to me, tell me if you need anything. Nangang Yeo said softly, looking at him closely with a pair of eyes. I just remembered that my Jaoa is still a little rich woman, so I'll trouble you. Seeing her like this, Zhang Xingyun did not refuse her kindness and agreed. That's right. Hearing this, Nangang Yeo smiled with satisfaction. Nangang Yeo scratched the space ring and then took out a batch of natural treasures from the space and placed them on the ground. Looking at the large area of resources placed on the ground, Zhang Xingyun sighed again. The things she took out were all at the first level of the King of Heaven and were worth a lot of money. Can this flame-devouring spirit rock be used? This earth giant rock, and these, take a look at what else can be used. Nangang Yeo picked out a lot of rock-type treasures and asked him. The Pokeball of Bangulus on Zhang Xingyun's belt trembled slightly, and Bangulus came out of the Pokémon with a bang. Bangulus looked at the many treasures on the ground with eager eyes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 547 Reminder and Companion. Bangjirus called softly, looking at a small pile of yellow sand. Can Xingyun's golden sand be used for the life core? Nangang Yeo asked. Not very useful. Okay. Nangang Yeo's eyes flashed blue, and the small pile of golden sand appeared in front of Bangjirus. Bangjirus was slightly happy, cupped his hands, thanked, and then ate the golden sand. Bangjirus made a satisfied sound, and smiled at her. Even his fierce face could be seen to be flattering. Nangang Yeo smiled after hearing it. Bangjirus, do you want these? Nangang Yeo pointed to the other treasures on the ground, and said with a smile. Don't, Bangjirus, that's enough. It's like I didn't give you food. Go over there to train. Bangjirus grabbed a handful of the golden sand on the ground and ran to the side. Bangulus is a bit silly. It was very naughty when it was still a young Kyrus. Now it has evolved and become more stable, but it is still a bit naughty, which is inconsistent with its sturdy appearance. It plays games, eats, and occasionally slacks off. Zhang Xingyun recalled the process of cultivating Bangulus and said with a smile on his face. Bangulus seemed to hear these words and howled, as if protesting what he said. These few days, when I was reviving Regirock, it was always drooling beside me. Hahaha, are you being too harsh on Bangulus to make it like this? No, it's just greedy. It can't walk when it sees so many things. You can see it is still secretly looking at them. It has been like this these days. Don't feed it, don't spoil it. Okay. Nangang Yeo replied, picking up the things on the ground, handing them to him, and collecting the rest. You have to be careful about Regirock. If some people with bad intentions know about it, it will be a big trouble. They will do whatever it takes to snatch Regirock. At this point, Nangang Yeo looked cautious. I know that I won't expose it when I'm still young. Zhang Xingyun said seriously. He naturally knew about this kind of thing. A divine beast was enough to make those dark forces tempted and take action. With his current strength, he had no chance of winning against those people. It's good that you know. Seeing him like this, Nangang Yeo didn't say anything more. The life core of Regirock on the ground was flickering, absorbing the energy of the treasures placed near it. Zhang Xingyun was next to it, took out a computer and books, and looked them up. Electric Beast and Giant Claw Mantis also came out of the Pokeball and went to the training ground to train. Then I'll go out and take care of the training room. You should pay more attention. Nangang Yeo said, and then left the training room to take care of a training room. After a while, Nangang Yeo finished handling the training room. The training room was opposite, and she could look after it during normal times. Yeo, here is the list. Thank you for your help. Zhang Xingyun took out a list and handed it to Nangang Yeo. Are these too few? Looking at the items on the list, Nangang Yeo wondered. It's quite a lot. We have to take our time. It can't be done all at once. Zhang Xingyun explained that the revival of Regirock is a very long cycle and can only be done slowly. Okay then. Nangang Yeo put away the list, moved the table and chairs, and sat down beside him. Looking at him busy, a sweet smile bloomed on her face. Why are you sitting here? Don't you need to check on your Pokémon? Zhang Xingyun asked, while checking the information. No, Gardevoir and the others don't need me to look after them all the time. What are you checking? I can also help you check it. Nangang came over, looked at his computer, and said, "Oh, it's Southwest University that has information about Regirock, and Professor Zao's paper from Southwest University." Zhang Xingyun said truthfully. These materials are also very precious. It took him a lot of effort to find them. Getting these materials is also to increase his understanding of Regirock, a Pokémon, and it will also be beneficial for future cultivation. Southwest University. I remember that this university is quite strong. Their capital is Regirock, and I heard that they are also inviting Victory, the Star of Victory, to land. Nangang recalled and thought of this university. Yes, so they will do more research on Regirock, just like our Magic City's research on Suicune. Zhang Xingyun replied and continued to look at the information. You can deduce what Regirock needs based on these materials and documents. Your research talent is not low. In addition, you can make advanced energy blocks, and you are also an ability user. You are also very talented as a trainer. When you think about it, you can do so many things. Nangang was surprised and was shocked by his excellence again. You can do it if you want, as long as you are willing. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Forget it, forget it. I'm not interested in studying documents or anything like that. If it's about making energy cubes or something, I'm a little interested. Nangang shook her head. She was not very interested in studying elves, but she was more interested in making energy cubes. I can teach you when I have time. Zhang Xingyun closed a document and turned to her. Okay. Chama while the two were chatting, Mu Xiaogang came over, stood in front of Zhang Xingyun, and asked him. Hello, Mu Xiaogang, do you remember me? Nangang saw Mu Xiaogang coming and greeted him. Mu Xiaogang nodded slightly, looking a little cold. Mu Xiaogang, this kid has this temper. Zhang Xingyun smiled and came in front of Mu Xiaogang. Chamo don't be anxious wood gecko. Take your time. You've only been training for a few days. First, train the basics well. Eat one bite at a time. Chamo the wood gecko pulled him to the side of the training ground, jumped in front of the wooden stake used for training, swung his tail, and hit the stake with a few snaps. The ergometer on the stake showed the strength of the wood gecko's slapping. Chamo the wood gecko demonstrated a few more times, and the effect of each performance was very good, meeting Zhang Xingyun's requirements. Great, great. Zhang Xingyun praised. Chamo the wood gecko looked a little happy, and he puffed out his little chest to accept his praise. Is that so? Since you are so good, let's train speed next. Zhang Xingyun took out the equipment for training speed from the space, installed it on the wood gecko, and began to train the wood gecko's speed. Chapter 548 National Competition. Chamo after half an hour of instruction, the wood gecko also got the training tips, and was training outside. Zhang Xingyun also sat back in his chair, and continued to look at the documents, while Nangang was walking around the electric monsters, stopping from time to chat with them, and also took out a lot of high-level resources to feed them. The electric monsters also knew that the person in front of them was the partner of their trainer, and they were very friendly to Nangang. The two Pokémons, Banglass and Haunter, followed behind her and surrounded her. Under her generous handwriting, they were bribed. Looking at that scene, Zhang Xingyun just smiled and continued to sort out the information without saying anything. In front of him, there was an interface that only he could see. The interface flashed a series of data, calculating a large amount of data. Time passed by minute, and time soon came to the evening. It was Nangang who came to tell him that Zhang Xingyun realized that it was already past 8 o'clock in the evening. Sorry, I was too involved and forgot the time. Zhang Xingyun apologized and packed up his things. It's okay. I don't have anything to do. I saw you were so serious just now, so I won't bother you. Yeah. Zhang Xingyun came to the life core of Regirock. The treasures placed around it had turned into powder, and their essences were absorbed by it. The life breath of the life core was a little stronger than before, which was also an improvement. After putting it back into the Pokeball, and then putting the electric beasts back into the Pokeball, and then dealing with the training room, after looking around, and finding that there was no problem, Zhang Xingyun walked out of the training room, and closed the door. This training room has been reserved by him for a month, which means that in this month, he is the only user of this training room. This can ensure that his secret is not discovered as much as possible. Nangang Yeo also walked out of the training room opposite him, closed the door, and the two walked out of the training hall together. There are many training rooms in the training hall, which are provided for the students of the Magic City to train. Walking on the road, there are still many students coming and going. Both sides of the road are surrounded by people, and the sound of fighting can be heard from inside. There were also students holding documents and wearing white coats, discussing today's research as they passed by. There were also couples walking by, laughing and joking. The tense atmosphere in the Magic City University now is completely gone, and it seems very lively and relaxed. When they arrived at the cafeteria, after ordering 2 bowls of noodles, Zhang Xingyun and his partner found a place to sit down and eat. I don't know if that tsunami on the other side of the sea today was caused by the dream, Nangang Yeo suddenly said. It's very likely. Zhang Xingyun nodded and replied, continuing to eat the noodles in his hand. Hey, are you participating in this national competition? Nangang Yeo said, looking at a poster not far away. National competition? Zhang Xingyun was a little confused, then looked in the direction Nangang Yeo pointed, and saw the poster. Oh, I've been a little busy recently, and I forgot about it. Zhang Xingyun said, remembering it. I remember that we need 8 badges for graduation, but I don't have any now. And the other one is not going to start in September next year, right? Zhang Xingyun chuckled, without any nervousness on his face, because with his current strength, it is really not difficult to collect 8 badges, it is just a matter of time. Your information is too late. The press conference just said yesterday that it will be held in advance. Nangang Yeo explained. National competition, that will be soon. Zhang Xingyun murmured. The poster said that the first Chinese elf national competition will be held on New Year's Day, January 1st, instead of the earlier September of the following year. Only more than 2 months left. I thought it would be September next year. Zhang Xingyun said, it is now October, and there are only more than 2 months of preparation time before January 1st. In these 2 months, it is still a bit difficult for ordinary people to collect 8 badges. Are you going to participate? Zhang Xingyun asked back. Yes, don't you want to go? This is the first national competition. Nangang Yeo said excitedly, looking forward to it. Yes, you said it was the first national competition, so I must go. If I win the championship, I will be the champion of the first national competition. Wouldn't it be possible to leave my name in history? Ha ha ha. Zhang Xingyun joked. Ha ha ha, so confident. Nangang Yeo also laughed. It must be. Then we have to start collecting badges. Doesn't our Magic City have a super gym? Let's find time to go and have a look. Nangang Yeo asked, talking about the super gym in Magic City. Okay, it's quite close in Magic City. Zhang Xingyun agreed. Open your phone and see if you can make an appointment. Okay. The two took out their phones and quickly made an appointment. The appointment time was on the 21st of this month, and there were still 5 days. After dinner, Zhang Xingyun sent Nangang Yeo downstairs to the dormitory and returned to the dormitory. Catcher after opening the door of the dormitory and walking in, he saw 3 people sitting on the sofa. Lan Yuchen was still playing with a small blue thing. Zhang Xingyun looked closely and found that it was the badge of the Magic City Gym. Hey, Xingyun is back. Lan Yuchen shouted when he saw Zhang Xingyun and stretched out his hand to show the badge. This is the superpower badge of Magic City. I just got it today. It's still warm. Zhang Xingyun took it and looked at it. The badge was heavy and flashed blue under the light. The design style was similar to the shape of a water drop, and there were purple stars dotted in the middle of the badge. It's so fast. I just made plans, and you got this badge. Zhang Xingyun looked at it for a few times, and returned the badge. I don't have much to do. I'm free anyway. It just so happens that the appointment time is today, so I went. That's good. I also made a successful appointment. I will challenge the gym on the 21st. Hahaha, then it will definitely be no problem for you. You will definitely pass it. Lan Yuchen said affirmatively. Maybe. What is the specific process of the challenge? Tell me. Zhang Xingyun asked. The process is that when you arrive at the place, you enter according to the appointment information. After selecting the challenge mode, you start waiting. When your number is called, you can go on stage. Now there are 3 types of challenge modes in the gym in our Demon City. The first one is to challenge the gym apprentices. If you succeed, you can get a certificate, not a badge. Of course, the corresponding strength is a novice or ordinary level 2, which has little to do with you. It mainly serves novice and ordinary level 2 trainers. The second one is to get a badge. The object of the challenge is the vice governor of the gym. After winning the challenge, you can get this badge. Lan Yuchen took out his badge and shook it. Chapter 549, The Gym and the Magic City. The gym trainers at the level of deputy gym leaders are meant to deal with elite and qua-seeking trainers. After successfully challenging them, they can get badges. The third type is when the gym leader takes action himself. This should be for people of all ranks, from novice to king. However, the gym leader usually does not take action. Instead, it is the deputy gym leaders and gym apprentices under his command who take action. I have not seen the gym leader take action today, but I heard that the gym leader took action a few days ago. Lan Yuchen said calmly. I see. Zhang Xingyun was surprised and understood the rules of the Magic City Superpower Gym. With your strength, you can go and try to see if you can fight the gym leader. Lan Yuchen said that with Zhang Xingyun's strength, it is possible that the gym leader will personally take action to accept the challenge. Look, my appointment is in 5 days, so it's still early. Zhang Xingyun said calmly, sitting aside and turning on the computer, browsing the information about the Magic City Superpower Gym. All the information about the Superpower Gym was displayed on the computer interface. The director of the Magic City Superpower Gym is named Lang Xian, a senior ES-peer, the vice president of the Magic City ES-peer Association, the vice president of the Magic City Transportation University, and the standing committee member of the Magic City Trainer Association. A long list of job titles also shows that this director is extraordinary. Zhang Xingyun slid the mouse and looked at the 7 deputy directors. He found that among the 7 deputy directors, 2 were the directors of their Magic City University, and their strength was also among the best. It must be said that this configuration is very luxurious. From another perspective, it also shows the gold content of the Magic City Superpower Gym. By the way, today teacher Liu asked me if I want to go to the gym to practice and be an apprentice for a while. Have you agreed to be an apprentice? I agreed. There's nothing wrong with being an apprentice. With the guidance of those masters, I will definitely improve a lot faster. I heard that Director Lang will teach the key points of practice. Another way is to be an apprentice at Cheoneng, and you can also convert credits at our Magic City University. The counselor also suggested that I go. There are many benefits. Why don't I go? By the way, if you want, you can also go together. I think it's much better than being in school. Lan Yuchen said to the 3 people, inviting them to go together. Then you can try it when the time comes. Xiaoming replied, also tempted. I'm busy, so I may not go. Zhang Xingyun confessed. I'll see the situation. Peichengin on the side said, and then said, I've also made an appointment on the 19th of this month. Old 4, you've made an appointment on the 19th, so let's go together when the time comes. I'm also scheduled for the 19th. Xiaoming said loudly. Okay. Peichengin agreed, and then they would go challenge the gym together. I knew you would all go. After all, this is the first national competition. If you perform well, but if you perform poorly, you will also be used as a counterexample. Peichengin interrupted. Then perform better. There are more than 2 months left. Work hard. I will cheer up, I will fight, and I will leave my name in history. Seeing Lan Yuchen like this, everyone laughed. Zhang Xingyun continued to look at the information about the gym on the forum. On the forum, there are many people who have challenged the gym, sharing their own challenges and feelings. It is still worth a look. With the strength of our dormitory, this badge can be obtained by just having hands. Lan Yuchen said with a relaxed expression. Maybe. Although this is a bit crazy, the reality is that they are all top students among the students of Magic City University. Judging from the situation, it is not difficult to obtain this badge. It seems that Dragon King has come to our Magic City. According to rumors, Dragon King will also come to our school to give a speech. Lan Yuchen said mysteriously. Is it true that Long Xianwang will come to Modu University to give a speech? Qian Xiuming asked. It's a rumor, so it's very likely. Seeing the two of them like this, Zhang Xingyun smiled, said nothing, closed the computer, and went to the balcony to collect clothes and wash up. When he came out of the wash, he heard Lan Yuchen and Qian Xiuming talking about Long Xiao, and they praised him very much. This is not difficult to understand. The status of the Xianwang tournament is more respected than the ball games in the previous life. Naturally, Long Xiao, as a contestant, is naturally very popular. In the eyes of boys of this age group, he is no less popular than some superstars. After sitting in the living room for a while, Zhang Xingyun went back to his room to practice. He is not a star chaser, and Zhang Xingyun feels that he will have such strength and status in another 5 years. Now he should focus on practicing and increasing his strength. Zhang Xingyun made a hand seal, and a little starlight appeared around his body, surrounding him. Now he is already a person with the ability of the peak of the Quasi Xianwang, and there is still a short distance from the first level of Xianwang. Zhang Xingyun estimated that, if nothing unexpected happened, with his progress in cultivation, he would be able to break through to the first level of Heavenly King in about half a year. The next day, Zhang Xingyun got up early, washed up, and went out. He received a message from Nangang Yao halfway, and rushed directly to the training room. When he arrived, Nangang Yao was already waiting for him in the training room, and there were several food boxes on the table. Seeing Zhang Xingyun arrive, Nangang Yao smiled and opened the food box, which contained a steaming hot breakfast, and the two of them ate breakfast together. How is it? Do these suit your appetite? Nangang Yao asked. It's delicious. Where did you buy it? It seems that there is no food in the school. It's good that it tastes good. I bought it outside the school. There are many ingredients in it, which are of great benefit to us ability users. I saw that the school didn't sell it here, so I ordered it outside. Nangang Yao said with a smile. It's a waste of money. No, just eat as long as you like it. The two ate breakfast, chatting and talking, as if they had endless things to say. Their elves were also beside them, eating energy cubes and greeting each other. The elves of both sides were very familiar with each other, but Blastoise and Dragonite were a little bit strange. After breakfast, Zhang Xingyun released the life core of Regirock, and continued to take out rock treasures for it to absorb. Watching its growth every day, Zhang Xingyun had an inexplicable sense of accomplishment. Turn on the system and record its growth, so that it can make some minor adjustments, to make it recover quickly. Nangang Yao was beside him, also holding a book and reading it very seriously. After eating, the elves also trained on the training ground, which seemed to be orderly, each doing their own job, and making progress together. Chapter 550, The Arrival of Long Xiao. Introduction to Economics. You are studying economics. After finishing his work, Zhang Xingyun came to sit next to Nangang Yao, and watched her reading economic books. Yes, there are elective courses, so I thought about taking an economics course. I'm also quite interested. Nangang Yao replied and continued to read the book in her hand. Very good. Zhang Xingyun replied, and took out the book to read. You can also take a course in elf research. I think you are quite talented in this area. Let's talk about this later. There is no rush. Zhang Xingyun continued to read the literature on elf research in his hand. After studying it, she said that he really wanted to take another course in elf research. In college, there is no limit to what you want to learn. As long as you want to learn, and have the energy to learn, you can. Some awesome people took many subjects when they were in college, and they were also very useful after graduating from college. Zhang Xingyun, who has supernatural powers in this aspect of learning, did not find it very difficult to learn. Some profound knowledge points were not difficult for him. Hey boo. After watching for a while, he heard the electric shock monster calling him. It encountered a problem in training, and asked him questions. Zhang Xingyun put down his book and walked over. After listening to the electric shock monster's questions, he thought for a while and gave suggestions. The electric shock monster trained according to what he said, and it really got much better. Crackle in a thunder and lightning area, the electric shock monster was in it. Under the control of the electric shock monster, the 8 lightning whips were swinging around. Now this move has been practiced by the electric shock monster to 8 whips, and it is also named Lightning 8 whips, an advanced version of Lightning 5 whips. Whoosh, a few bursts of breaking air came, accompanied by a few rumbling sounds. The electric shock monster's Lightning 8 whips has been mastered, and can be used in actual combat. Is it the peak of the middle stage of Aqua Seeking? Zhang Xingyun felt the breath revealed by the electric shock monster, and found that it had reached the peak of the middle stage of Aqua Seeking. Work hard and break through to the late Aqua Seeking level, as soon as possible. Zhang Xingyun encouraged them, and went to other elves to see how they were training. Nidoking and Claws, 2 elves at the peak of the late Aqua Seeking level, sat on the ground, surrounded by many treasures, quietly absorbing energy, waiting for the opportunity to break through. Where Claws was, there was a glittering golden light, and the steel energy was extremely rich. Nidoking was also in a small pit, with a layer of purple black mud attached to his body, and there were treasures that had turned into powder around him. Both elves were honing their strength, and preparing to enter the first level of King. Tyrannosaurus and Blastoise were similar, all training and increasing their strength. The resources consumed by more than 10 elves every day was a huge number. Now with Ridgerok, a big resource consumer, if Zhang Xingyun had not participated in many competitions, and won many times, and if he had not made energy blocks, etc., his savings would have been considered rich, otherwise he would have been unable to support them long ago. After a round of walking, he was very satisfied with the performance of the elves. The only 2 elves that needed more attention were Bryce and Haunter. The training of other elves was on track. Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but feel very happy. He sat back in his chair and made a training plan with a happy face. Nangang Yeo, who was standing next to him, also stood up and walked out of the door, probably to her elves. After a while, she came back. While the 2 were studying quietly, there was a jubilation in the Magic City University. The reason was that the Dragon King Long Ziro came to the Magic City University to give a speech, and was warmly welcomed by the students of the Magic City. Like welcoming a superstar, the students of the school surrounded Long Ziro and came to the school's battlefield. Long Ziro wore a decent Chinese Xian Wang uniform and a cape, which made him, who was already handsome, even more impressive. The students off the field were all shouting his name, very excited, as if they had seen an idol. This is not difficult to understand. The 4 heavenly kings of China are the objects of worship for young people. Combined with social development, they are more popular than superstars. I'm honored to be invited to give a speech in Magic City. Long Ziro on the stage cleared his throat and spoke with a magnetic voice. Hello, Long Xian Wang. Long Xian Wang, can you tell me how you feel about the Ice Xian Wang Li Zhu? Long Xian Wang, I heard that you and our Magic City senior sister Li are in love and hate each other. Is it true? Long Xian Wang, what do you think about senior sister Li sniping you many times? As soon as Long Ziro opened his mouth, the students in the audience asked questions one after another, and the most asked question was about the matter between him and Xian Wang Li Zhu. Li Zhu also graduated from Magic City University and is the pride of Magic City University, so some students in Magic City would call her senior sister Li. Ahem, classmates, I also know your questions. I will answer them here. Regarding how to look at this question, my answer is that I will stand and watch. Long Ziro's humorous speech caused the students below to laugh loudly, and the whole venue was full of laughter. Another thing is that Li Xian Wang and I are very good colleagues. We make progress together, encourage each other, and work together to maintain national stability. In the training room, Zhang Xingyun's cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Lan Yuchen calling. The general idea was that Long Xian Wang came to the Magic City and asked him to come and see. Zhang Xingyun responded with a few words and hung up the phone. Nangang Yeo's cell phone beside him also rang. After answering, the content was similar. They all said that Long Xian Wang came to the Magic City. Do you want to go and see him? Zhang Xingyun asked, after hanging up the phone. I met him at the Dragon Blood Pool in the Dragon Valley and chatted for a while. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Do you want to go and see him? Well, let's go and see. Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and stood up. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun followed. When he was about to reach the venue, he heard the noise inside. Zhang Xingyun had a new understanding of Long Zhou's popularity. The rejuvenation of China is not only what our generation needs to do, but also you, the next generation, and the next generation. Therefore, building a harmonious and stable social environment is necessary and inevitable. Zhang Xingyun and Zhang Xingyun heard Long Zhou's impassioned speech as soon as they entered the venue. Good. The venue was boiling again, but this time everyone was boiling not because of a joke, but because of Long Zhou's speech. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.